just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, a very special episode because it's an Origin review, and we love Origin reviews. Now, just before we get to that, I will be outside Suncorp Stadium with NRL interviewing people. Basically, you'll be able to come on the live stream too. You'll be able to come on the NRL live stream. So I'll be outside ANZ Stadium. Game 3 for Origin, the decider. I mean, the pressure cooker there. I cannot wait to go and watch it. Come and join me. Again, we'll be giving away a bunch of prizes. We'll be, asking New South Wales and Queensland fans questions, putting them against each other. Plus, you'll be able to come on the live stream, the NRL live stream on TikTok. So join me outside Suncorp Stadium for Game 3. Also, only brown hoodies remain. I don't think there's many left, maybe 20 brown hoodies left. So if you want some hoodies, make sure to get in and grab some, because I'm sure they'll be gone in the next couple of days. Plus, Bloke in a Bar beer, every single Liquor Legends in New South Wales, Queensland, ACT, Victoria, socks Bloke MIDI, so go to Liquor Legends, put in your postcode, it'll show you your nearest Liquor Legends, or Bloke in a Bar OG is in every single Bottle-O, Porter's Liquor, IJ Plus Liquor, and Celebrations in New South Wales and ACT. So get into there. If you've got one of those stores near you, it stocks Bloke in a Bar. Go and grab a case, a beautiful beer. Got plenty of people messaging me last night saying they absolutely love the beer while watching the footy. I've got the great Guru here with me. How you going, brother?
I'm good, mate. Life's good. First time in 8 weeks. The Broncos or the Maroons haven't won a game when I come in here Monday morning.
Yep. It's tough.
World's a little bit brighter today. It's good.
Yeah. Now we also got the great Timmy. How you going, brother?
Good, mate. On cloud 9 after the last 4 or 5 days. Been 4 or 5 of the best of my entire life. It was a long 2 weeks going into this weekend, and to come out with 4 Blues victories, a ripping set of international fixtures, I couldn't be happier, mate.
Fucking hell, 4 Blues victories. Fuck me dead. Matty, how you going, bro?
Bit like the boys. Finally happy to come in here on a Monday morning. Very relieved to go on to the decider at Suncorp.
Man, it was like such an impressive victory too, 44-12. Guru was just saying it's the same margin as a couple of years ago when we went to Perth and you made all those changes. I mean, Freddie, you have to give it to him. There weren't very many pundits that were saying Freddie has made all the right decisions. A lot of people thought the changes were too drastic. But once again, Freddie knows best and he makes the big calls and it's the right calls and he gets the job done. What an incredible moment for Freddie. And I guess it's almost like we just got to stop doubting him. Like he clearly has a method to his madness. I don't think we clearly can't see the inner workings and all the underlying reasons for the decisions, but he sees it and it works, because what a performance by New South Wales. Thoughts on Freddie's decisions and obviously paying off?
Yeah, I thought Matty Burton in particular that he brought into the side, I thought that was unreal. I thought he was so good. You can just tell he's made for Origin. I think you said before, 6 tackle breaks in that game. Like, he's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, he's not the fastest. He just finds a way to have an impact on games. That one bomb that he put up, that was from his own 40-metre line on the left-hand side of the field. Tailangi dropped it over his left shoulder in the right-hand side corner.
Crazy.
Like, just unbelievable. I thought Burton was incredibly impressive, and I thought Nathan Cleary's bounce back was sensational. Sifa Talakai didn't have to do too much, but played his role there. Wasn't really the sort of game for Sifa, but credit to Freddie. And as much as the Blues had a big win, and we'll talk about it, the decider is what this Origin series deserved. There isn't that much between these two sides. So looking forward to Game 3.
Timmy, what do you reckon?
Yeah, you're spot on, mate. It's just every time that you look like the Blues might be going the wrong way of a scoreline or a series or that sort of thing, you've just got to put your trust in Freddie, don't you? And we were saying it when the changes were made, and to be fair, a few of the changes that were made we sort of would have had for Game 1 anyway, but you're just sitting there going, we've been in this position before, Freddie's got us out of trouble, so just put your faith in him, and he's done it again. So again, the job's only halfway done. There's one more to come, so if we don't win that one, it'll mean nothing, but we're back on track. Yeah,
it's really interesting, because let's say you go up there Game 3, all of a sudden the questions come back up of, well, Freddie, did he make the right decisions? But I just think that the guts to make the calls that he did, it's just incredible to do it again as well. Like, part of him, you got to assume it's like you're sitting there going, look, can this work twice? Like, it worked a few years ago, but making mass changes mid, Origin camp, can it work again? Going to Perth. But yeah, look, they were masterstrokes, because the guys he brought in, Burton was outstanding. Talk about the big moments, and it won't get talked about a lot, but that pickup, like for Cleary kick, that was a tough pickup in traffic, basically running at full pace. You got to stay calm and concentrate for that. And it would be very easy for Burton on his debut to let the moment get to him, like, oh my god, this is happening, kind of thing. And that happens to some rookies, like this. A moment is about to approach, and all they're thinking in their head is like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, rather than staying calm. Focus on the ball, get your job done. Don't focus on fending people after or whatever. Focus on your main job, which is just making sure you grab that ball. He did that, scores a try, and then he goes to his little tip on again. Very easy for those moments to go begging. Very easy for a player to put it this way. Let's say he does that tip on and he throws it a little bit behind To'o. I don't think people would be sitting there going, oh, shocking play from Burton. They would be like, oh, damn, it just didn't come off. That's a hard play to make. Instead, we're all sitting there going, what an incredible play, and he made it look easy. And that's a sign of just a special player. Then obviously he comes out 41st minute, not even the 41st minute, like 50 seconds in the second half, puts up a massive, massive bomb and sets the tone for the second half. Then he takes the run before Luai's try. He also has a one-on-one steal. Honestly, when it comes to debuts, it's right up there. It's right up with some of the best debuts. Like, very rarely, I would argue, you could find a debutant that had that much hand in points scored for a team.
I think it was even more impressive as well, because his first touch, he hit the ball over the sideline. Like, that could have rattled him very early, and he just bounced back from it. I was so impressed with him, and I'm sure we'll talk about what we're going to do for Game 3 later, but I don't think you can possibly leave him out of that side. Well,
New South Wales have got the envious position of having two of the best players on the park, White in Game 1, Burton Game 2. They've got to also have Latrell, one of the best Origin players we've seen of this generation. Thoughts on Matty Burton, Timmy?
Yeah, he was stunning, wasn't he? And I think what's probably overlooked in all of it is that just the fact that he's done it at centre. This is a bloke who's played in the halves, coming up through the grades, basically his entire career. And we know with that season with Penrith last year where he did it as a centre, but he was playing out of position. And it's one thing to do it in a red-hot Panthers side at NRL level, but then to step up and do it at Origin level, having a game played in the halves all season for the Bulldogs, like that transition is not easy to do. I think we touched on it a couple of weeks ago that it's not a winger going to centre or a winger going to fullback, a second row going into the middle. Like, going from halves to centre, it's a completely different position.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to come in and dominate the way he did and just slot in so seamlessly. He just looked unflustered from the word go. As I said, it makes for some big decision calls for Game 3 if Latrell comes back well in the NRL for the Bunnies, but good spot to be in.
Mate.
Especially for Burton too, when you've got Dane Gagai was marking him. One of the best outside backs Origin has ever seen. It's a very tough gig, and Burton did sensationally well.
Yeah, well, he won the battle. And we see like veteran centres come into Origin and be quiet. Like specialists, play there every week, kill it at club. We see them come into Origin and they don't really do much at all. Burton comes in first game. And to impact the game from centre, you know how hard that is? Like, you don't get put in a position to do that. And yet he somehow has brought this kind of new flavour of, being a six, but being able to place in the centres, being able to impact the game much more. What do you think of Matty Burton, Matt?
Yeah, you go back to debutants, and for New South Wales, I can't really think of someone who's done that since probably. I know Frizzell had a really good debut a few years ago, but in terms of contribution to points, Matty Burton, he just looks like he was made for that Origin position. Obviously for Queensland, he got Munster and Ponga in the last few years, but yeah, he just looked like he fit in that Origin team, and whenever he got the ball to put up a big bomb, oof. I know I got genuinely excited. It was great to watch.
It's such a weapon to have, that bomb, because it's like you're going from, usually it's like, we're losing the ball now we've got to defend. You create essentially like a 50-50 chance of going straight back into attack. And he just offers so much there. I can't see how you would drop him. Plus, he covers so many positions. What a debut. I'm trying to think of other debuts. Like, you've got Kalen Ponga off the bench. You've got Munster. Latrell Mitchell, I think his debut was pretty good.
You got like Brett Hodgson, Anthony Minicello had good debuts too, but Matt Burton would have to be, right? I was just thinking last night, imagine being Taulagi when you're the left winger standing back on your own 10 and the left-hand side centre gets the ball on their 40 and it goes over your head.
It's crazy. And also that bomb was almost, because it changed in the air and went over his head rather than dipping, because usually a torpy bomb, it'll come down, it'll dip back towards the attacking team, so away from you towards the attacking team. That dipped over his head and back that way. So to be like moving backwards to make the catch, it's almost impossible. So it's such a weapon to have. Yeah, Burton was outstanding. And I tell you what, I mean, look, sorry, Bulldogs, we've got to get into it, but there were reports this week of him saying that he's not going to take up his option. Again, it's just reports, guys. But I tell you what, with performances like that, he'd almost be a bit crazy to be taking up options. He signed that deal with the Doggies before he even played much first grade.
Yep.
Now, he's a bona fide Origin star. What were you going to say, Matty?
So I was just going to pretty much mirror what you just said. I was just going to say that contract was signed before, like, he's not that market value anymore. So, like, why would he take out that option? There's every chance he'll sign with the Bulldogs again. I just think he'll ask for more money.
Well, mate, he could be worth anything now, realistically. Like, especially if in 2 weeks' time they go up to Suncorp and he puts in a similar performance, he could absolutely skyrocket.
Do we know what he signed for at the Bulldogs on that deal?
It's about half a mil, I think. Maybe just a tick over half a mil.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do if you're the Doggies? Are you already open to negotiations about long-term deals, all that great stuff?
I think you probably have to. Yeah.
Wow, it's because again, it's one thing to do it at a club. You're doing that at Origin. You're almost writing your own check. I mean, again, sorry, Bulldogs fans, but what clubs do you think would be interested?
Just about all of them.
Well, what clubs could reasonably be interested?
Well, I mean, straight away the one that comes to me, and it always comes to me, is the Melbourne Storm if they do manage to lose a Munster, for example. Like, if you were to sign him, would you sign him as a 5'8" or as a centre? Would you?
Oh, definitely 5'8".
Definitely
yeah,
5'8".
You're not signing him centre. Fuck.
I mean, he's pretty handy at centre though, mate. Like, he's not. Like,
but then you're just wasting your cap.
Yeah.
You know, putting a guy on 800k out in the centres, even 500k is a fucking fair whack for a centre. You're probably playing Joey Manu 5 to 600k, maybe. Matter of fact, I don't think he would be even on that. He'd probably be on, Joey Manu would be on about 500, I reckon. Definitely playing him at 6.
I tell you, like, for some reason, I can just see him at Cronulla next to Nico Hines.
Ooh, that would be scary. Fuck, could you imagine those two blokes coming at you? I will say, playing massive devil's advocate, although the Doggies have bounced back, if you were going to make him your marquee signing, at the moment the Doggies aren't a top 8 side. So you could make the argument of like, look, is he worth paying huge amounts when we're not sure whether he can lead a team into finals footy? Now, clearly we know he will be able to do that. Look how good the Doggies been the last few weeks. But it is just a massive devil's advocate question. What do you reckon, Matty? Do you reckon the Doggies are confident in keeping with a guy like Gus Gould at the club?
It's really hard to predict down the track, isn't it? And all I hope is that, and Matty Burton seems like such a legend. It's like such a good bloke. He looks like a bloke who'd be loyal where possible. Often.
Well, he kept with his deal. He could have made it hard to leave Penrith after winning that premiership.
Exactly, and often money will dictate the decision, rightly so, for obvious reasons, particularly for a young bloke who's starting off his career. But I just hope that if he doesn't initially take up the option and wants more money, which would be fair enough, and that big money's thrown at him from across the NRL, which it will be, that if the Doggies can somehow, like, they're about to match the offer, that he goes, you know what, you showed faith in me after a handful of NRL games, and Gus Gould at the Dogs, that'll help dramatically. I hope he sits back and goes, you've shown faith in me, I'll return that favour by, yes, you might up my contract by $200,000 a year, but I'll give away 50 or 100 grand elsewhere to stay with you lot.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't knock him either way, wherever he does it, and whichever way he goes. But it'd kill me to see him leave the Dogs where they're looking.
I
now.
will say, I really do hope fans don't get off Burton for not taking up his option. You know what I mean? Like, he's not doing anything illegal. He's not breaking contract. He's doing what's within his rights. And he would almost be crazy to take his option up now that he's playing as well as he is playing. I actually think the Doggies keep him. I think they do, because I just think the way they've been playing and they got the Fox there, they look happy. The boys are all whooping up after every try. They just look like a different side. I actually think with Reid Marnie coming, with Viliami Kikau, I think the Doggies keep him, and I think that he looks happy there.
Well, I was just about to say that if you are Burton, you are looking around going, we're about to get a premier hooker. I've got arguably one of, if not the best winger in rugby league on my edge. I'm getting Kikau, who I've already won a premiership with on that edge.
Yeah.
As much as there's better teams around, am I going to be in a better situation than the edge I'm going to have?
Yeah, absolutely. I think put it this way, if the Dogs lost Trent Barrett and didn't kick on the way they were, I would say it's going to be really hard to convince him to stay, because it's just not happy when you're getting pumped every single week. It's just not a good place to be at. You'd almost take a pay cut to be away from that and winning footy games. Like, imagine being a part of the Storm. Basically every week, you work your ass off and you earn it. No, there's no denying that. But every week you're walking in and you're getting wins. You go to another club and you're losing every week. So I actually think the Doggies keep him. I actually think it would be smart career-wise to stay the Doggies, because if he manages to bring them into the 8, then it's another upgrade, Like if he goes to a club that is already really good and they're already in the 8, you could put in the resume, look, is he a front-runner player? Whereas if he takes the Dogs from outside the 8, wooden spooners, all the way into the 8, not only will be loved by the Bulldogs community, like absolutely loved, but it just drives his value up even more.
There's not too many better communities to be loved by either.
100%. They'll take care of you, the Doggies community. And,
for sure.
And so, they've also got the Laundry Group as a part of the Dogs. Laundry Group is a great group. They own the Locker Room Hotel outside Accor Stadium that we did our live show at. Great venue. Make sure to get down there. Perfect before Accor Stadium games. The Laundry Group is a big group, so when it comes to influence and all that kind of stuff, they'll have that. So, although Doggies fans, this is what I think's happening. So just to ease your fluttering heart right now, I personally think that the Doggies and Matt Burton, the Doggies are aware of Matt Burton's situation, and I think the Doggies expected this. I think they expected, he probably wasn't going to take his option up. Even if he didn't play New South Wales, I think the Doggies expected he wouldn't take his option up, maybe even before he got to the club. Because again, he went from a couple games to, this kid could be great, he could be really good, to a premiership Dally M centre. And so I think they expected it regardless. And I think the Doggies would have prepared for this. You look at their salary cap, it doesn't look bent out of shape. It doesn't look like they've got, a bunch of players on $1 million that are going to take his contract. It looks like they've set themselves up for the ability to pay their main half at least $800K. Again, I don't know their books, but that's what it looks like. They don't have these big $1 million. Now, look, maybe they spent over Sareed Marnie and Kikau, I'm not sure. So I reckon the Dogs are prepared for this. I think Burton isn't taking up his option, but that isn't him saying, I don't want to stay. That's him saying, no, I'm actually worth more there. I want to stay, but you've got to upgrade me. And I think that the Doggies and him will go through the negotiations, and I will be surprised if by the end of this year, the Doggies haven't extended him. I would only be surprised.
It'll also be interesting to see who's going to be the long-term coach there.
I tell you, I like Potter. I like him. He's been fucking look how good they've been. I would if I'm the Dogs, I'm giving Potter another year, just a year. Be patient, because on top of that, let's say Potter can get you into the 8. Let's just say he could do that. Then you may be able to go to Seraldo or these next young gun coaches and say, look, we're a club on the up. We're a club that's going all right. And I think Potter, what do you got there?
Just on Burton, I just cast your mind back to last April. He signed the deal pre-season, or maybe even the year before. And remember there was all those talks about backflip, that he might want to backflip on the deal and stay with the Panthers. And
first it was release early.
Yeah. And he was just like, nah, fuck it. I signed the contract, I'm saying. So he's obviously a very loyal guy. Yep. So that I feel that he's already given the Bulldogs that. The player option, you're right, he's probably just trying to bump his value up a bit, which he's market value.
And rightly so. I think the Dogs would have prepared for this. I think after they watched him go from a fringe first grader to Dally M centre, I think they would have sat down and go, boys, there's no way he's taking this option up. There's no way. We need to prepare for this. And also I think Gus Gould is such a savvy operator. He'll move players on to keep him. So I know I brought up him going on the open market, and who knows what will happen. But I think Doggies fan at the moment, I'd be confident. He looks happy there. His game, he looks like he's improving. And to what you just said, during that year, he could have easily, if he had gone to let's say he signed that contract and then he gets halfway through the year at the Penrith and he's playing really well. If he had gone to the Bulldogs then and said, I'm not coming, the Dogs probably would have had to just cop that decision, because they would have said, look, we need to make a call now, because if he is not going to come or this is going to drag out, we lose time in getting that money into someone else's, a better half across to the club. But he clearly didn't do that. He clearly stuck to his guns, stuck to the contract that he signed. So, look, the good thing is the Dogs, a wooden spoon side, now have a game-changing Origin player leading them around. How many years has it been since that's been the case at the club?
long time, and this is where also having Phil Gould in their room,
it's
going to make such a difference. If he's the guy that's able to keep Matt Burton there, it's franchise changing.
Yeah, and like the Gus Gould can sit him down and be like, he's, stick with me, the connections that he has, all of that stuff. It all matters when it comes to the biggest players. The big dogs that are game changers don't stay with clubs unless the clubs, are all connected up higher than just rugby league. Gun-Dead Timmy, does he stay?
I think he does. And the point you touched on there is that they've signed him on his 500K or whatever he's on this season. It's not like he's a rookie that's on 200K and they've signed Kickow and Marnie and these other blokes and they need to find another 600K in their cap. It's like, well, if they're upgrading, they're only going from the 500 to say 700 or 800. Like you can find that in your cap for a bloke like Burton.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
on the back of that, as Matty pointed out, it comes across as a loyal bloke. I would be surprised if he left the Bulldogs, and I think it'd take a pretty ridiculous offer from elsewhere for him to leave that club.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, you could look at the Tigers. Maybe they're in a position to make a huge offer, but then if you're Burton, you're sitting there going, it's a tough club to go to right now. So look, I definitely think they keep him. I really do, because as you said, it's a great point. Let's say it's 300K, and this is no disrespect to a fringe player. Like at times I was a fringe player. It's like that's literally just one fringe player. Like that's going to one of your fringe forwards that you may have signed for a little bit of overs and saying, mate, can you find somewhere else? Not very hard to do.
I mean, they've just let go of Paul Vaughan. It looks like Matt Duffy's going to leave.
Yeah, that's a fair bit of there.
They've got the coin there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, really exciting times for New South Wales. Extremely exciting for times for Bulldogs, because this is the things that you need to go your way as a club to get yourself off the bottom of the table. It's like young gun players like this performing on the big stage. Imagine how good he's going to be when he gets back to clubland. Going to be so confident, so confident. So incredible Burton. Now let's talk about Nathan Cleary. Last week he was the worst bloke in all of New South Wales. He couldn't play big games. We want a Munster. Why don't we have a Munster? This week he's a bloody hero again. We knew this. Like, can we please put to bed the nonsense that we aren't convinced yet that Cleary is an elite, one of the best halfbacks we've seen in a long time. It is put to bed, guys. Like, he may have one game where he's quiet. This guy is on track to be one of the best sevens we've seen in a few years. Seriously, can we put this to bed? Is it put to bed finally, you reckon, or what? Or if they come out game 3 and they lose, all of a sudden Cleary can't play big games anymore?
I think there's too many people out there that don't like Nathan Cleary and are out there waiting for him to stumble.
Like a tall poppy thing. He's so
mate,
good.
it's exactly what it is. It's 100%.
Because he's never done anything wrong.
Never done anything wrong.
Like he
He's
did a
been
dance on
super
TikTok.
successful.
Who cares?
Yeah,
did a bloody dance on TikTok.
You look at what he's done. He's 24 years old.
Yeah.
Doing what he's doing at 24. I've said it before. Like Joey wasn't doing these things at 24. Freddie wasn't doing these things at 24. 24 years old. Freddie had just moved into the halves. He was playing out in the centres before that. Joey at Newcastle, for me, that was Matty Johns' team, not Andrew Johns' team. Nathan Cleary's side is his. And it's becoming one of the most dominant sides we've ever seen.
Yeah. And to back your point up, and he doesn't get enough credit for this, and I feel like I say it every second week, when he took over as the guy, there was one Origin player in that side. It was Nathan Cleary. Now, there is like 7 or 8 Origin players in that side. He's a huge reason for that.
And when he took over as the guy before him was James Maloney, the one guy in the comp that you need to win, apparently, for the 10 years before that. Yeah. And Nathan Cleary just steps out of that shadow.
Yep.
And it's incredible. It's so impressive what he's done. And there was a moment in that game last night where, very Thurston-esque, where he got the ball about 35 metres out and he just dabbed it into the corner and forced
it's beautiful.
It's
beautiful
like,
kick.
If that goes short, Nathan Cleary's a moron. If it goes too long, Nathan Cleary's an idiot.
Yeah.
He had to come up with the perfect kick for that perfect moment on 4th tackle, and he nailed it.
Like dime kind of stuff.
I haven't seen someone hit that kick in Origin outside of Thurston. Used to do it every fucking game because he's so good. A freak. Yeah. But it's the first time I've seen someone else do it in the Origin arena since JT.
And as a defending side, it's torture because there's nothing you can do about it. Like, if as a defending team, if you execute everything perfectly, your best result is a repeat set that you have to fucking defend again. And that's all from just a pinpoint clearing kicking game. I mean, what I loved about Cleary's game is that we saw the evolution of a Cleary from 2 years ago. Now, when I did the NRL TikTok thing the other night, I showed footage of the 2020, was it 20 grand final Storm versus Storm versus Panthers?
Yep.
And basically what I was showing was the amount of kick pressure and flustering Cleary out of his game, taking him out of his rhythm. And I actually thought the first half of game 2, Queensland did a really good job of taking Cleary's rhythm and, really stuffing up his momentum and shooting out of line, but then sometimes staying back. But what I loved about Cleary's game 2 is he didn't allow that to take him away from his processes. And he understood as a more mature player that the points will come. I just got to stick at it. Don't go crazy. Don't need to make the big play. Just stick at the processes. If they're going to start shooting out of line at me, maybe I need to run the ball more. What do you know? Second half, he decides to start running the ball. All of a sudden, those same players that are shooting up out of the line, take time off him, are slipping over on ice skates because they're shooting too hard. So it was just a really mature performance from Cleary. What did you think about it, Timmy?
Yeah, I thought it was, with all like the criticism of him after game 1, I like to think it's one of them cases of the small minority having a very loud voice on social media. Yeah. I know that within this room and within speaking to all my mates and my footy-minded mates, none of them are knocking Nathan Cleary and questioning his ability and, his legacy at 24 years old and what he's capable of doing. So I do think it was a small minority. And you're right, I was jotting down my notes in the game last night. First 20 minutes I had Blues' fifth tackle options. They weren't finishing sets well at all, a few off kicks. And then basically what allowed that kick pressure to be relieved and whatnot was that they started to win the middle off the back of Junior Paulo coming on and absolutely just turning the game on its head, which we'll get to a bit more later. So when we started to win the middle, Cleary had a bit more time, but essentially it won the game, his kicking game, and the influence of Matty Burton's kicking game as well. They're incredible. That fourth tackle repeat set that he got, I think it was the set before that, he nearly hit the 40-20 on fifth tackle as well. Cobbo had to dive that to get back in. Yeah. Liam Martin put an unreal chase in to chop him down. Yes, he missed it, but did the damage. So that kicking game of Cleary was just exceptional. Then the running game spoke for itself, didn't it? It was a performance for the ages. Yeah, it was so good. And just calm, mature, didn't allow to get flustered. I think in game 1, Queensland kind of flustered him a little bit. It was smart too. New South Wales did some really good tactics by putting, I think it was maybe Hello Sport that I was showing how you put your two front rowers beside the play of the ball, making it harder for markers to make their. If you get in their line, obviously it takes them longer to get to Cleary. I thought New South Wales did that really well, and it's legal as long as they don't change their line. It's legal, so there's nothing wrong with it. It was
non-existent in game 1.
Literally,
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and that's why people were kind of saying, "Oh, Queensland." There was some saying Queensland were kind of lying in the ruck game 1. I was kind of like, I just think that New South Wales probably didn't prepare properly tactically for the way Queensland played. I think game 2, we could see there was a clear tactical change from New South Wales to protect themselves from those certain things. Even of the selection of Burton, coming out and doing that bomb first minute of the second half. So a great performance by Cleary. He's the guy going forward. It's just a scary prospect to think that he's 24. He's got at minimum conservatively another 8 years, in rugby league. But he was outstanding. What did you think of Nathan Cleary, matey?
Going back to before about the big game, he's literally, his right boot won Penrith the grand final last year. He's won, last night wasn't his first man of the match in Origin. He's won 3 Origin series. Does he literally have to win a decider at Suncorp, which has happened twice ever for Blues, and win a World Cup at the end of the year for people to say that he's a big game player?
Oh, it's crazy.
What more does he have to, once he does those 2 things, there's literally nothing else he can do.
Yeah, but they'll just keep kicking the can down what it'll be then, it'll be, look at the team around him. It'll be, for example, last year, the record-winning series, it wasn't Cleary, it was Tedesco, it was Tom Trbojevic, it was Latrell Mitchell. They'll just keep kicking the can down the road where you get to a point where you just go, my God, this guy's a 24-year-old. He's won 3 Origin series. He may win 4 by the end of this year. So let's say at 24 years old, he's won 4 Origin series. He's had a record last 2.5 years. Let's say Penrith continue doing this. They look like they're going to. He's had a record last 3 years. He's been in a grand final, won a grand final. His last 3 years has been, you could argue, can't be better. Outside of going back to back.
He's come second in the Dally M medal.
Twice.
2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And he should have won it in 2020.
He absolutely should have won it in 2020. Yeah.
It's unbelievable what he's doing.
Yeah. What more could he possibly do?
If he goes to Suncorp and he does win that game and he plays a big role in it, it's going to elevate him to a level that, some people are going to be filthy.
They're going to be filthy at it. But I do think, right now, I think he is... He's great, but I think like when you go stepping into that next echelon of players, I do believe you need those moments, those huge moments against all odds. A Joey Johns 2005, a Freddie Fittler coming back to Origin, a Darren Lockyer, scoop up of a bad pass, Cam Smith going down to, you know what I mean? Those moments where it's a step above what a normal player could do.
We spoke about it at the live show for those that were there, that halves, the great halves, they own an Origin series or a final series. I would argue that last year, Cleary, like their attack was a little bit down. So I'm not going to look back at the 2021 NRL final series and go, that was Nathan Cleary's final series. Like how I look back to 2001 and go, that was Joey's series. Look back to 92, 93, that was Alfie Langer's series. But this Origin series, after that performance in Game 2, if he goes to Suncorp and wins in Game 3, I think this will be the series we look back and go, fuck, that was Nathan Cleary's series. That's when he came of age.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think that what is kind of backs that point up is he's had to fight adversity within the series. Like, he didn't just come in with a red hot side and fucking blow us off the park. He came in and had Cam Smith, Billy Slater and Jonathan Thurston, these masterminds sitting there going, we know how to shut him down. At least for a game, we know how to shut him down. Shutting him down, and then Cleary coming back and going, no, we're going to fight back with our own way against your greatness, with our greatness, Freddie Fittler, those minds. That's what I love about this Origin, is we're seeing ex-greats battle it in the coaching boxes, and we're seeing future greats battle it on the field. What do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, and then it's an exciting, and you say, like, what does he have to do to be regarded as one of the greats? And we say that preemptively in that, he's 24 years old.
We understand it's going to take time.
But in the next 5 months, we're going to get an Origin decider at Suncorp Stadium. Huge opportunity for him to do that. More than likely, probably another NRL Grand Final attempt, at least.
Put it this way, it'd be a disappointing year if they don't make the Grand Final.
With the opportunity to go back-to-back. Obviously, Roosters did it. Before that, it was the Broncos 92, 93. And then a World Cup at the end of the year, which we'll get to later, but looks like it should be the closest World Cup in terms of competition we've probably ever seen.
This is the most I've ever been excited for a World Cup.
By far and away.
Yeah.
So Cleary has what should be 3 massive opportunities to be like, I'm the man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. Now, I'll ask a question then. Is the jury out? Is he the Australian 7? Like, are we, or is DC still got a shot at it?
Cleary has to be the Australian 7. I think the
jury's
series has probably sealed it. Yep.
And you reckon this series seals it?
100% Cleary's the halfback. Has to be.
What do you reckon?
He was the Australian halfback last year, if there was a game. But no, zero doubt he should be the number 7 for Australia. Zero doubt.
Yeah, look, I actually, even before this Origin series, I felt that it's his time now. I think they probably would have selected him early with everything that's going on with all the the restrictions or whatever. But I just think that regardless of what happens in this Origin series, it's now as Australia we need to step into the new era, and I think Cleary is the new era for our 7. And he's 24. He's not young anymore. He's not 18. What do you got there?
Oh, I was going to go off topic a little bit. I just remembered a conversation that we all had maybe 2 months ago about the Australian hooker.
Yeah.
I reckon that is a fantastic question now. Who's going to be number 9 and probably on the bench for Australia? Yeah,
look, I think, Harry Grant at club has been outstanding, but I do think that it's not a sure thing, the 9. We'll get to the 9. We'll get to the 9. But yeah, I think with Cleary, you've got to put him in there. You've got to just make the decision of we're going in. It's not like DC is playing shockingly or anything like that. It's more just like, if you're not going to make the choice to bring Cleary in, when are you going to make that choice? So I do believe I think keep DC in the squad to help mentor him for sure. But yeah, I think Cleary gets a nod.
I'm so excited for this World Cup, but if we get there and we've got a Cleary Munster halves combination, fuck, they're going to be hard to top. Yeah. The form they're both in at the moment.
Yeah, very hard. The only thing that'll be interesting is to see if they can click, if they can really complement each other, because we've seen so many times 2 gun halves get together and they struggle. I actually think they will click, but that's the biggest question is will Cleary need to be the main guy, calling the shots? It's all he's all over everything, or will Munster? I think that Munster will be able to give him that, to let him, because DCE is the main guy too at his club. But yeah, if they're both on, it's tough, and we'll get to it. But I tell you what, Brown Hughes, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all.
I think Munster and Cleary will be perfect because we know that that Munster likes to roam around, play a bit of off-cuff footy and whatnot. Cleary's sitting there running the show, and Munster just going, I'll be wherever I want to be, and if I'm out of position, like Cleary's got this sorted. He'll get us around the park. His kicking game's there. Not that Munster wouldn't be there for any reason, but he will just roam and pop up all over. So I think they'll be perfect for each other.
Yeah, I agree.
It'll probably take a little bit of time naturally, but that's the beauty of a World Cup. There's time to build into it come semi-final, final time.
And just to go another deeper layer, you've got Nathan Cleary right foot, Cam Munster left foot.
Yeah, really, it's a great combo.
It's a perfect combo.
Look, I think they are going to fit for sure. It's just that's the only question for me. You know, like literally,
it hasn't been answered yet.
Exactly. Yeah. We just don't know, and sometimes for some weird reason, it might even be personality. Like I'm not saying that it would be, but sometimes personalities can just clash, and you just don't get.
Wouldn't that be a huge opportunity for Jerome Hughes just to stand up and show everyone?
Mate, could you imagine Jerome Hughes goes to World Cup?
I won't be fucking shocked. Like,
if Jerome Hughes goes to World Cup and beats Australia. Fuck. It puts a spanner in the work of like the 7, you know, in the world. I mean, and he's not there yet in my opinion. He's still number 2 for me. But I tell you what, if New Zealand, anyway, we'll get to New Zealand. We'll get to it. And also we'll get to that 9 selection decision as well. But some other standout performance, Junior Bolo, absolutely outstanding and just a wrecking ball when he bumped Kalen Ponga like that. First of all, massive respect to Kalen fucking. To put his body on the line like that. Like, if he doesn't stop him with his body like that, I know it was a speed bump, but it was an effective speed bump because it just stopped him enough to not score the try. I think Junior Bolo was absolutely fantastic. It was probably matter of fact, it might have been one of his best games at Origin. He brought a lot of energy. He lifted the pace of the game that we just didn't seem to be able to go with, whereas game 1, I thought Carrigan did that for us. I thought Carrigan was outstanding too for Queensland. But I want to have a quick chat about one of the greats, Jake Trbojevic. I can't be more happy for one of the good guys of the game, and I'll be first to admit I would have probably selected him. I understood why some would have had his position under pressure at game 1. I understand it. The game has changed a bit. It's a fast pace. Manly, you know, he hasn't been allowed to kind of flourish sometimes the way he would. I understand that argument, but as a Queenslander, he's getting picked every day of the week. Like, there's never a Queensland side where Jake Trbojevic isn't getting picked. Because, and I know New South Wales, some fans hate to hear this, but it seems like we tend to appreciate guys like Jake Trbojevic. And what I loved about his performance last night is that we always knew he had the grit, but he actually was explosive. He was fast. He suited the modern game. Matter of fact, if you took away his name and everything like that and you just said ex-player is playing right now, you would be like, this is a modern forward. This is a modern front rower. He can ball play. He's quick on his feet. He's good laterally. These are his stats. A guy that some thought, and I understand why they thought that, some thought the game had passed him by. 148 metres, 61 post contact, 31 tackles, 0 misses. Matter of fact, he was the only player outside of Brian To'o, who only made 2 tackles, so it doesn't really matter, and Tupu, who only made 2 tackles, like wingers, doesn't really matter. Outside of that, he was the only player in the New South Wales starting side to not miss a tackle. Think about that. The only player in your starting side to not miss a tackle, but not only that, he ran for the most metres of any forward on the field. Incredible. Any starting forward on the field. Yeah, any forward on the field. So Jake Trbojevic statistically in both stats, not just a tackling machine, not just a guy that goes out there and fills holes, he was outstanding. Timmy, thoughts on Jake Trbojevic?
Yeah, look, I was not happy about it, but I was very critical of the selection a week ago. And off the back of that, he's only passed 100 metres in a game, running metres for Manly, in 4 of his 15 games this season, with a top of 120 metres. Wow. He came out in an Origin game, having won his spot back, and ran for 148 metres. So talk about answering the critics, like that is emphatic. And even outside of that, you touched on it last week, sort of these intangibles that you can't measure in football players, and particularly representative players. And, you know, Jake Trbojevic, what he's done for that side to come in, you know, just... like even every diehard Queensland fan couldn't be upset by Jake Trbojevic coming in and doing what he did last night. I think everyone's so happy for the nicest bloke in the NRL. Yeah. It was terrific.
How about at the end of the game when he was walking around with his team? He looked like fucking Luna Park. He was just so happy.
And I tell you what, we'll get the footage up. Walks into the changing room, Teddy knows who the big king is. Teddy walks over to him, he puts a beer in his hand. Jake Trbojevic goes, tunk, boom, sculls the whole thing and sits down. And you're like, what a fucking man. Like, what a man. What a bloke. He goes out, works his ring off, walks straight, like literally it was as he walked, so he walked straight in the changing room, made a beeline to sit down with the boys. As he walks in, Teddy literally got a can, walked over him, gave it to him, and he just went, boom, and just necked it in front of everyone and put it down like it was nothing. What a knock. What a knock. What do you think of Jake Trbojevic? And I know you were kind of a little bit in the camp of, not to put words in your mouth, but a little bit in the camp you thought maybe Freddie had thought that the game had passed Jakey by.
No, that's exactly what I thought. I would have had him in my game one side, but when Freddie didn't pick him, I sat there and went, okay, I understand what Freddie's doing here. And then I thought it was strange that he brought him back from game two, for game two. But as I said last week, I would never sit there and criticise him because I know he's going to fucking pull my pants down, make me look stupid.
Yep.
And last night was just what Origin's all about. I thought there was a tackle he made on Kalen Ponga that no one's even spoken about. It's off the charge down early, and KP was through. He had support either side of him. They would have gone the length, and Jake just held on to his shorts for just 2 or 3 seconds, and it just tripped KP up. And
KP was about to offload.
He was about to give, but because he held on just that extra second, forced him to the ground, and they would have, I think it was DCE that was on his inside. They would have gone away and scored, or at least got on the front foot and turned it into points there. So, well done to Jake. I did understand where Freddie was going, and I didn't really push back on it either, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But once again, Origin, it's a different beast. I thought that stat that Timmy just said about the over 100 metres for Manly, 4 times out of 15 games, and he backs it up here in Origin. That just sums up.
Off the back of that, is there anything Manly can take from Origin Jake Trbojevic that they can put into their game?
I say it every week. I don't think Manly use him correctly. I think they make him get through way too much fucking work. He does all the clean-up work. It's kind of like Tino at the Titans. Like, they don't make him, but like they're almost like, well, he's the only guy capable of doing this, so he's the guy that gets the job of doing all the shit work. But I agree, Manly should be looking at this game and going, we've got a fucking absolute thoroughbred on our hands here, and we're using him to make 50 tackles a game and not get through any of the fun stuff. Like, I don't understand it.
I think Des and Adam O'Brien should be watching this series sort of going, fuck, we need to change how we're using KP and how we're using Jake as well.
KP's been outstanding.
Mate, at halftime, I was like, he is the man of the series.
Yep. And you look at game one and all the big plays, KP was involved in some way, shape or form. His pass to Cobbo, I know went to the deck, but it was still the right option. Cobbo picks it up, we score a try. His pass to Valentine Holmes, his tackle on Isaiah Yeo at the end there. KP's been outstanding. He's flourishing under Billy Slater. But yeah, Jake Trbojevic for me, just when you talk about the moments in Origin that make Origin, it's moments like that. An older bloke that's, what is he, 27, 28 now, that you think, oh, maybe the game has passed him by, and you go, no, there's way more to Origin than just the I guess, the stats of everything. That's what he proved. He proved that there's so much more to rugby league than statistics. Even though he came out and he had that big game, if you looked at his statistics before the Origin series, you'd be like, there's no way this bloke's getting selected. If you just looked at his stats, then he comes out in Origin and he just brings so much heart that you'd almost argue Freddie must be sitting there going, I'm never dropping him again. Like, I can never drop this bloke again. So, look, massive game from Jake Trbojevic, and he brought that heart back to New South Wales, that aggression, that grunt. Like, it wasn't just his running, like the amount of times he chopped blokes in their tracks, like where that first contact was immediate and it was brutal. It was straight away, boom, chopping blokes. He did that at least 4 or 5 times. And to stop the momentum like that in a tackle, it's so important, because what New South Wales did really well, and Penrith do it really well, they were so good at winning the first contact, but then also dragging the Queensland players back.
Yep.
Penrith do it constantly. They always win the first contact, but they don't stop their job there. They hold you up and they literally drag you back. And the momentum of your set gets absolutely annihilated. It's almost, the whole set's over almost. You need a big run from someone to change everything. So Jakey, he was a huge part of that. I thought Cam Murray was outstanding. I thought he really added a lot of energy to the edges there, as well as his defence was really good. 28 tackles, only 1 miss. Isaiah Yeo, as always, he's just a constant threat. Outside of that, I thought To'o and Tupou were absolutely incredible. Listen to this. This is what your outside backs did, your wingers did. To'o, 261 metres, 101 post contact. That's right. To'o actually ran for more post contact than most of the Queensland side outside backs. So the most outside of Kalen, Murray To'olangi ran for 108 metres. To'o run for 101 post-contact metres.
So the Blues back three, they ran for 726 metres and 242 post-contact. Queensland's ran for 295 metres and 78 post-contact.
Crazy. That's where the game's won and lost.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to beat a team that has 60% possession but runs for, 3 times your metres in the backs? And unfortunately, I just thought the Queensland's backs this game. Last game, they were incredible. This game, I didn't think they had the best game.
In the first 15 minutes of the second half, I kept track from half time, the metres they were all at. In the first 15 minutes of the second half, Teddy ran for 100 metres, Tupu ran for 70, and To'o ran for 80.
Fuck.
In the first 15 minutes of the second half.
Crazy. And it's just like, it's the Penrith method of, like, you just rest your front rowers so they're all ready to go in defence, because when you go and look at, this is what Queensland's starting forward pack ran for. Lindsay Collins, 47 metres. Benny Hunt, 58 metres. Josh Papali'i, 37 metres. Kurt Capewell, 30 metres. Felice Kafusi, 41. Tino, 78. And that all stems from the New South Wales forward pack is so rested in defence that every tackle, they get massive line speed. But on top of that, every tackle they're got enough conditioning to wrestle, the player back metres, literally losing metres. It was a pure domination by New South Wales. And everything they tried to do game one, they managed to do in game two. Like, they tried to do this in game one and Queensland matched it with him, and I thought Cotter was a huge reason for that because of his, ability to, he's laterally and he's a smaller player, blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the Blues, absolutely outstanding. Junior Borlo was outstanding. Thoughts on the Appy, Damien Cook situation? So Cook ended up playing 46 minutes. I think he came on at around the 34th minute, I think he came on.
Yep.
I actually liked it. I thought that it was a real good way of going, okay, Cookie, instead of you paying 80 minutes and being gassed, go on there for, 40, 45 minutes and just go hell for leather. And yeah, okay, like, did he have, a crazy stats or whatever? No, but I thought outside of one pass that was poor, all his execution was really high at a high rate, and I think that comes down to fatigue. Like, he wasn't fatigued to make those calls. I also thought Api Coruscant's defence in the first 20 was really good. What do you think about that situation? Yeah,
I said last week that I'd have it the other way, and I sort of still stand by that. But I think that, as you said, the stats weren't great. It really wasn't a game for hookers. When your 7 and your 6 have got the hot hand like the Blues did, it really wasn't. I think they combined for 30 run metres or something.
Yeah.
You got these, we spent half an hour last week talking about running nines and this and that. It just wasn't the sort of game.
13 metres for Appy, 18 metres for Cook.
Yeah.
So pretty much nothing.
It just wasn't a game for the two nines, but they did their job. Their service was good for both of them. You said, I think Cook, there was one wayward pun. I think there was another one. He was meant to go to Cleary. He went to Jerome Luai, and Luai fucking skittled the defence and scored anyway. Yep. I don't think we really got an answer out of which way they should run those hookers, in my opinion. Yeah, well, I do think that it did prove that having a 14 on the bench, though, works for a game plan. Yeah. What do you think, Timmy? Yeah, and I think we mentioned last week, I personally was preferring sort of Cook to Appy, but if they were to start Appy and play him in that sort of starting 30, 35-minute role and then bring Cook on for the rest, more than happy with it, and it worked well. As you said, they didn't have a massive influence on the game, but it also wouldn't surprise me come game 3 if the Blues can get more forward dominance, or as they did in game 2, to see either of them two, particularly Cook, coming onto a try in defence, carving up and having more impact in attack. And I think it worked well. I mean, it's off the back of a winning result, you'd be funny to change it, wouldn't you? Yeah, absolutely. I also think that, the way they've decided to play, when you've got outside backs taking so many scoots, like, outside backs are usually better scooters than hookers. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. Usually, like, obviously Cook can sometimes be better, but even then, like, who would you rather scoot now, To'o or Cook? Probably To'o. Yep. And I think that the game plan does actually revolve around just high quality service to your halves, allow Cleary to do what he needs to do. But if something does pop up, obviously take that opportunity. So outside of that, an absolutely outstanding performance by the Blues. Now let's get to some tough decisions that need to be made. Matty Burton, I thought Crichton, outside of the one missed tackle on Ponga, I thought he was solid. But you've got Burton, Crichton, Latrell Mitchell, Jackie Whiten, all battling for a centre spot next year game 3.
Timmy, who are you going for game 3 in your centres for the Blues and 14?
Tell you what, it's a good position to be in, isn't it? I don't think you can drop Matty Burton off the back of how good he was in game 1, and particularly look into the future. Like, the bloke's got to be there for the next 10 years, doesn't he? I mean, it's only one game, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but what we've seen so far. So I think I'd keep Matty Burton on the left. Guru made a good point about just the kicking styles and being he's suited that side because of his kicking boot. So I'd keep him on the left. Stephen Crichton, probably a bit harsh in such a big win, but I don't think he was fantastic again. I think he had a few deficiencies there, attack and defence. So off the back of not being great in game 1 as well, I think he'll benefit a lot from the experience, and he has a big future for the Blues. But for the time being, I'd be happy to drop him out to make way for either Latrell or Jackie Whiten. Now, I don't know what they do with Jack Whiten because Latrell, it's a sit. I'm going to sit on the fence on it because we need to see how he comes back. He hasn't played since he's about round 5, had a lengthy stint out. If he comes back and kills it for the Bunnies this weekend against Parramatta, he's only got one chance to impress before Origin 3. Well, then I'd pick him because I think he's that good and that important to the Blues. We mentioned it last week, but playing centre, we don't need him to get through 20 runs. He can have 5-10 runs and be as efficient as if he'd played all season. If he does that, and then you sort of work out where you've got to fit in Jack Whiten. Yeah. And the fact that we've now got the hookers there with Cook and Appy, who we've just said we'd probably stick with again, well, do you put Cook on the bench and then like a Jackie Whiten as a utility? You're leaving yourself pretty light on. So if Latrell kills it and we go him and Burton, Jack Whiten could be the most unlucky man out you've nearly ever seen.
Do you think there's a chance where you replace Talakai with Whiten and he does a similar job?
Possibly, and it'd come back to your old throwaway from about round 7, wouldn't it? Like, do you bring Jack on as a roaming lock? And which I still don't know because I haven't seen it, but maybe you can do that. Like, he's a big enough body. We know how hard he whacks in D. He could be perfect for that role. So in that sense, yes. It'll be whether or not when Freddie and him sit down and go, Jack, can you come on and play that 13 role for... It'd only have to be for 20 minutes. Like, it wouldn't have to be big minutes. We saw Talakai play, 20-odd last night.
Yeah. Well, put it this way, the reason why I say that is, let's in a different world, last night, Whiten was brought on instead of Talakai for that 20 minutes. Would have Whiten done a much worse job? Probably not, I don't think.
No.
Was Talakai so good that you got to get him back in that side? Does he offer so much... defensively, or is there something in his game that is so much better than Jackie Whiten that Jackie can't do? I think Jackie can defend in the middle. I think he's a big enough body. Okay, yes, he's nowhere near as big as Talakai. He's not going to bust anywhere near as amount of tackles. But he covers a lot of positions. Basically, there's not a single position you don't have covered now. If you've got Jackie Whiten on the bench, there is not a single injury that's going to bother you, pretty much. And so that's where I think maybe you could get away with it, having him in Talakai, and you treat him as a forward rather than a back. But it's a really tough one.
Put it this way, sorry, before.
Yes.
With you look at him coming on in that role, Queensland have done it for years with blokes like, was it Cooper Cronk back in the day, with DCE, with Ben Hunt before he sort of made more of that shift to hooker, where they'd come on and play in the middle.
Yeah.
Jack Whiten hits harder than every one of them blokes. So he's an animal in defence. We know he's capable of doing it in attack. So Queensland did it so successfully for so many years. I don't see why, the more we read into it and talk about it, that he can't do that for a 20-minute period. And the other thing that benefits us is that we've got big minute forwards. Like Jakey Chaboyevich can play big minutes in the middle. Junior Paulo did it last night. He played huge minutes in one big stint there. Yeah. Payne Haas can play big minutes. So I think that allows you to maybe go a little light on the bench. Guru, keen to get your thoughts, mate, because it's a tough one.
The game finished 12 hours ago, and I've had this conversation with 40 people. And I'm still in an absolute pretzel working out what's going on. I think that Matt Burton has to stay on the side, and I think if you're picking Matt Burton at anywhere but left centre, it's a waste. You can't possibly move him, so I think he has to stay on the left side. Get over to the right side, as you said. Latrell's got one game against Parramatta. If Latrell gets through that game, I think I pick Latrell. As far as the Jack Whiten thing goes, it's tough because as much as you said, would he have made that much difference if he was there instead of Siffer? No, he wouldn't, but in that game, he wouldn't. The game was over when Talakai came on. I don't think it's going to be like that.
But even, let's say the game's in the balance. Is Talakai a much better defender? Probably not.
No, but I just think that if you run with Jack Whiten there, you're talking about putting him on as a as a 13, do you take Isaiah Yeo off then?
No, you put him on as a front rower or something, like as in the middle. Isaiah Yeo stays on, but you just put him in the middle. Get line speed. He's big enough in the middle. That's what I'm like. What does Talakai bring that is so hectic that Whiten can't do? I would actually say laterally in the middle, Whiten would be fitter. He's probably a better defender. He's obviously not as good ball runner. And so, although Talakai, honestly, he's such a handful. I just don't see what he offers that Whiten can't cover. Like all the things that you would worry about when it comes to big bodies, like Talakai is a centre right now, playing in centres. Yes, he's played in the middle, but Whiten's played in the middle at times too. And so I don't see that much of a difference. I really don't. Now, I don't understand. Let's say instead of Talakai, you had RCG on the bench. I'd be like, okay, I understand why not, because RCG is like an out-and-out front rower. Whereas a guy like Talakai, he's almost similar to Whiten. He can play centre, he can play in the middle. I just don't know if there's that much of a difference.
Yeah, I just feel like if he was to do that, and if we lost, I feel like that there'd be a 10 or 15 minute period where there would be one front rower on the field. There'd be Isaiah Yeo and then Jack Whiten. If the Maroons forward pack got on top during that, I feel like there'd be a lot of fucking hindsight heroes sitting here saying, oh, why do you only have one front rower on the field? I feel like it could blow up in your face very quickly.
Well, blow in your face the other way, though. Like, if you lose and you don't pick White, and you're like, why didn't you pick your fucking form, your best player from game one?
Yeah, but
so either way.
Yeah, the thing that makes it hard is that the hookers did work well. That's what makes it hard. Like, if you could pick White at 14, that'd make your life so much fucking easier. That's the thing. Like, there's going to be one really good player that's going to miss out on this side, whether it is Whiten, whether it's Burton or Latrell.
Because like this is the bench you would have if you brought Whiten. You'd have Cook, Crichton, Bolo, and Whiten. Like, you
could do it.
I think you could do it. I really do. Bolo and Crichton can play front row as well.
I think it was pretty evident last night he wanted to play. Yeah, I don't know. He wanted to play Isaiah Yeo for the whole 80 minutes last night. He came on in the last 10 minutes. I'm not keen on the idea of only having one front row on the field. I understand where you're coming from, but in a decider, I think it's a big punt.
Yeah, I don't really see Talakai as a front rower. Like, I don't think he's an out-and-out front rower.
No, but I'm also mean for a 20-minute period where you are going to be short someone in the middle.
But this is Queensland bench. Harry Grant, Jai Arrow, Paddy Carrigan, Jeremiah Nanai. Carrigan's a 13 at club. Arrow's not a front rower. Nanai's not a front rower. Harry Grant's obviously not a front rower.
Yeah, but you've got Carrigan and Arrow who have played in the front row and have handled themselves.
So was Crichton. So was obviously Junior Bolo.
Yeah. It's more so about how do you actually get him on. I'm worried about the time when he's on the field. I feel like you're trying to get Jack on the field somewhere just because he's played well, which I understand. But I just don't think it's a great fit for that 20 minutes through the middle. I think that'll be a big time where Queensland could really get on the front foot. You're throwing Jack Whiten into an Origin decider in a position you've never fucking seen him play before. I think it's a big punt, personally.
Yeah, I think Queensland did a fair bit. Like, we brought players. We brought
with a couple of immortals around. Yes, you did.
Kalen Ponga came on, was it 2018? 18. So we only had, Cam Smith left there? Billy Slater had retired?
Cam Smith had gone, but Slater was playing.
Slater was there. So when they had Slater still left there, and he came on in the middle and killed it. I think it's with these great players, like Whiten is an Origin player. I think he'd do the job. I really do, because like you look at the stats with Talakai, he was on for 17 minutes. He had 4 runs, 33 metres, 2 tackle breaks, 3 tackles. I just can't see an area where Whiten's not going to do the job well there. I actually think he's going to offer a bunch of line speed, super aggressive ball runner.
I also think it's tough in the modern game with your HIAs and everything. If you do lose a middle forward, I think you'll find yourself short very quickly. There was 4 HIAs last night. Thankfully, they all were able to come back. But I understand where you're both coming from. And if Jack comes out and does a good job there, I won't be shocked. I didn't push back on Jack playing 13 when you said it 6 weeks ago. But I just think you are leaving yourself a little bit short there and taking a bit of a punt coming into an Origin decider.
And put it this way, I think we've mentioned how we'd maybe go about it, but Freddie loves Jack Whiten.
That's why I wouldn't be pushing this hard if Freddie didn't love Jack Whiten.
We saw that game one picking at centre. He comes out and he's the Blues player of the match, basically.
Yeah.
He misses a game because of COVID. It wasn't dropped or injured or anything. So he comes back, he'll be fine, provided he's got through COVID all right, and we'll see that this weekend. So I think it'd take a blinder from Latrell this week for Freddie not to go with probably Burton and Jack Whiten at centre.
Yeah, that's what we're going to get to, is like the Latrell situation. I actually think it's not a sure thing that he gets selected. I actually think look, he's one of the great Origin players. The problem is like it all just depends how he plays on the weekend. And the Rabbitohs are struggling right now. And if he comes out and kills it, you go, yeah, 100%. I mean, matter of fact, you go so far as to go, even if Burton has to miss out, you bring Latrell back in and you say, next year, Burton, you'll get your crack, don't worry. Or you move Burton to 14 or whatever you do. But I think that Freddie Fittler has already dropped Latrell for Whiten once. Back in the, kept White and whatever. Not to say that he's doing it in this cage. What I'm saying is like, clearly Freddie doesn't just automatically select Latrell, but it does seem like Freddie automatically selects Whiten. And so it's going to be interesting to see if he can push Whiten out of that centre position. Do you carry Latrell on the bench? He's fucking definitely big enough. Do you put him in that Talakai position? He's definitely big enough. He'd be fucking... He'd be scary off the bench, actually, if you put him in the middle there for 20 minutes.
If Freddie picks Jack at centre, are we confident putting him at right centre? Is he just too much of a good player? He's going to be I've never seen him on the right side.
Sorry, Latrell or...
Sorry, Jack. If he picks Jack at right centre...
Yeah. I think he'd do a job. I think he'd do a job. Yeah. I don't think he's a side. I think he's an energy player. It's not... look, it's a great concern to have. Trying to fit Latrell into a side. Are you serious?
We'll say as well, Freddie in the past has brought back players after just 1 or 2 games. He brought back Turbo in 2019 after he was injured, and he brought back in the same game Wade Graham after he'd just come back from his ACL. So Freddie's definitely not a stranger to bringing someone back after just 1 game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I personally would have Latrell, depending how he goes this week. If he looks a bit underdone this week, obviously, I would say it's just too soon, mate. You've played fucking 5 games in... 6 or 7 months. But I personally would be selecting Latrell. No one can do what Latrell can do.
If Latrell comes out against Parramatta, gets best on ground, where do you pick him?
In the centre, starting centre. Yeah.
And then you would pick Jack on the bench?
No, I would just say, unfortunately, just doesn't fit the side. Sorry, man. Burton was outstanding. Latrell is like a generational talent. I just know how much Freddie loves Jackie Whiten. Put it this way, whether it's Burton or Whiten, one of them is super unlucky and probably deserves to be there off the way they played. Sometimes you just get put up against a guy like a Latrell Mitchell who can do wonders.
Because I think we probably also need to take into consideration the Canberra Raiders play the St George Illawarra Dragons. That's probably a must-win game for them.
Yeah.
If Jack puts in a big performance there.
I will say, though, that no matter how good Jack played game 1, do we remember how good Latrell played for 3 games last series? So it's okay, if we're going to lean on Whiten or Burton's performance in 1 game, then why aren't we leaning on the 3 games last year for Latrell Mitchell, which were fucking amazing?
Well, I kind of am leaning on those 3, to be honest.
I personally would have him there, but I can understand if Freddie is going to move people around, and I'm not... I could see him doing a job as that extra front rower. Not as a front rower, but 20 minutes on the field, just go hell for leather. I know it's a bit light, but I just think that the intangibles that he brings, for 20 minutes, I think he can withstand the physicality. If it was for 40, 50 minutes, I do think eventually he's going to get rolled on. But for 20 minutes, just going out there, getting massive line speed, I think he could probably handle it. But it's going to be super interesting. I mean... What a tough decision from Freddie. What a tough decision. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section. Who would your centres be, and what would your bench be in regards to Jackie or Latrell or whatever?
I think that's the other thing that'll be playing on Freddie's mind. He'll go, fuck, okay, I didn't pick Ryan Pappenhausen a couple of years ago. Tedesco got injured, and you all told me I was a fucking moron for not picking Pappy. If I pick a centre /5'8" on my bench and I get a couple of front rowers that get HI8 or whichever with Jesus Christ, I almost had a seizure, which isn't that unusual when it comes to the NRL nowadays. Fuck, he could wear a lot of backlash for it.
No, I don't see Whiten as a normal centre though. I see him as a body of a wide running forward. He's a big fucking boy. So I think we just view Whiten a little bit differently. I don't see him. The way he plays, the way he runs, is like a wide running forward for me. And when I look at, for example, when I look at Queensland's bench, it's not a very big bench, and it wasn't that big game 1 either. But because, for example, Talakai, let's say there is a head knock in the front row. Can you see him playing long minutes as front row?
Yeah, probably not. So, yeah.
Well, he wouldn't. Cam Murray would shift into the middle, I think.
Yeah.
And then he'd go on the edge. But even so, it's just like,
You'd chuck Crichton in there for sure, I reckon.
Crichton plays big minutes in the
Crichton
middle.
could probably play 80 in the
That's
middle.
what I mean. They've all got big minutes in them.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's
Really
achievable.
interesting. I don't know what the answer is. I honestly don't. Because every single one, whether it's Burton, Whiten in the centres, Latrell, Burton, or Latrell, Whiten, and Burton, maybe he goes loyal and he says Burton, and he just says to Burton, sorry, mate, but you're the newest kid on the block. You're going to get your crack next year. But for now, we've got to go with White because he's been a part of the system, and obviously Latrell has done what Latrell's done at Origin level. But I don't know, man. I fucking don't know what the right answer is.
Wouldn't you be nervous if you're Parramatta this weekend?
Oh,
He's
yeah.
coming off the back fence, playing for an Origin jersey.
It's going to be interesting to see how Latrell, because he's a competitive guy, and he's, again, he'd be sitting there going, boys, and he's, personally, although he'd be happy for the boys, I'm sure he'd be sitting there going, well, he's played well, but let's have a look at my Origin resume
Mate,
and see what I
he
did.
commented on one of my things last night within a minute.
Yeah, no, he
saying
loves it.
Burton can have the 4.
He loves it. How good. I love that shit. That's what you want. And also, he does, when we talk about built for Origin, I know he had that one series where he didn't play the best, but Latrell has the mungle and the grunt in him for Origin. He lives for that stuff.
I think that's the other thing that matters to me is the fact that it is in Suncorp. We're going to need something special.
Yeah.
I just feel like when you look back to last year, obviously Latrell and Turbo, they are those guys that you can just flick the ball to them. There can be nothing on and they can create something out of nothing. And I understand the match fitness argument, but just Latrell on every big stage outside of that game that he struggled in 2020 or whatever it was, he's delivered huge moments in all of those games.
Oh, yeah. As I said, I think what's funny is I think all three of us agree that we don't know what the right decision is. We all agree?
Yeah.
I just don't know.
And I think if you were to sit Freddie here right now, he'd probably be like, fuck, I don't know.
I don't know right now. What do you reckon, Matty?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. If I had to pick, Latrell's in my team. We've won 2 deciders at Suncorp ever, and he's made for those big moments. I reckon Whiten's probably going to be the unluckiest 18th man of all time. I reckon if he doesn't go with Whiten, I reckon he'll be 18th man because he's probably the perfect 18th man. But I know it doesn't mean a lot.
Nico Hines is the most unlucky bloke ever. His form this year has been incredible. Can't get a look in.
But yeah, I'd probably go Whiten. I'd probably go Latrell and Burton as
Latrell Burton
as my centers. Yeah, I didn't think of Whiten on the bench over Siva, and I reckon a lot of people haven't thought of that. It's not bad to think about.
Yeah, and look, I understand there's going to be some people that are like, fucking idiot, shut up. It's more I'm not locked into that. It's just looking for options, understanding that Freddie loves Jack Whiten. Whereas if that relationship wasn't there, it'd be like, why push the envelope so much for one guy? So,
and it has been the old saying in State of Origin for a long time. I think Jack Gibson used to say you pick the best 17, then you find them positions.
Yeah. Well, it's look at Matty Burton. He's a 6, and I know he played a year at centre, but he's playing at 6. Goes to centre, he's killing it. Jackie Whiten playing at 6, goes to centre, kills
Turbo
it.
Last year.
Turbo,
Took
yep,
him from
absolutely.
fullback to
Latrell
not giving him
Mitchell,
a position.
yep. So look, incredible performance by New South Wales. They look back, they look ready to go. They look just as damaging, maybe not just as damaging as last year, but they look like the team we expected them to be this game last night.
Can I ask you as a Queenslander, what's the centre pairing that would worry you the most?
Well, fuck, it's just so tough to say because if it's a fit, angry Latrell, Latrell is the scariest centre in the game, bar none.
It'll definitely be an angry Latrell.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be a fit.
And so if it's a fit Latrell, honestly, the only guy that I would sit there and go, I would be confident he could mark GI, it's Latrell Mitchell. So 100% I do not want Latrell to be fit and angry. But it's just a matter of reality too and physics. He hasn't played any footy for so long. There's only so much he can do with his body. So I don't know what the answer is, bro. I honestly don't. And Jackie Whiten tore us apart game 1. So, and Matty Burton scares the fuck out of me because he's got a crazy boot. So.
This would actually be the first time where it'd be great if Freddie brought all 3 into camp and didn't tell us who it was going to be until that. This is the one time I'd love Freddie to outthink the room and try and fuck with people.
Now on to Queensland, boys. On to Queensland. Look, really disappointing. They put in a bunch of effort. There's no denying that. I thought they were super brave. Well, let's get to it. The 10 in the bin. Timmy, what do you think about the 10 in the bin?
Yeah, look, I think you could debate both sides, and I wouldn't argue massively either way. It's so hard on these ones to take all bias out of it and be and just be neutral to it all.
Yeah.
I thought it was a sin bin because Look, there was 5 well, I think it was 3. Was it 2 penalties and 3 6 again sets?
Well, basically,
or
there
4
was
6 again.
3 penalties. 3 penalties by themselves.
Yeah.
I was in like 6 agains and penalties.
Yeah.
And then the last one, there was 2 in one
2
play.
in one go.
Yeah.
So, look, with all that on top of each other, at NRL level, that is just a sin bin every day of the week. And the argument goes, right, well, this is state of origin. It's a different ball game. We talk about it. But what that does to a team's momentum and just stops them and stops them and stops them, I just think it has to be a binning every day of the week. I think what the referee got wrong was that you don't have to, but you should be giving a warning after 4 of them and going, boys, 1 more and you're gone. They always do that in an NRL game, even in an Origin game. So I think it was unfair on the way he went about it in that manner. But I think five in a row in the space of about 3 minutes is a sin bin every day of the week.
Yeah, I didn't come as heavy in the paint as you did this morning. I was a bit 50-50 on it. And I walked in here this morning and speaking to Timmy and Matt,
Timmy and Matt were very vehemently on the side of Timmy.
Yeah. We sat down this morning and we watched the 3 minutes leading up to it. And I'm still on the fence with it. Personally, I think the best result out of that moment would have been to call it up and bring DC out and say, hey, next one, they're gone. They're going. I think that would have been the best way to handle it. It just has such an impact. It had such an impact on this game. We spoke about 6 or 7 weeks ago when I had all those stats about the impact of a 6 again and how the 10 minutes teams normally lose that period by 6 to 8 points, which Queensland did. But then it's the period after that till the next break. They lost 30-0 in the period after that bit, and that's where you see the impact of it. That's where, some of the tries the Blues scored, you got Jerome Luai's, both of Nathan Cleary's, they were soft Origin tries. Yeah. It comes from them being absolutely exhausted for me. So I would have liked to have seen it being an official warning. If it goes on from there, so yeah.
What do you reckon, matey?
Yeah, not much to add on Timmy. I'm much the same. I just think there was 5 infringements in about 3 or 4 minutes, and where do you draw the line? They can't keep, I'm not going to say cheating, but you can't keep doing that and expect something not to happen. So, yeah, I was screaming sin bin before he even put his hands up, to be honest, when I was watching the TV. But can I sit here seriously and say if it was the other way, I'd agree with it? I actually probably don't know. It's, as you say, Timmy, it's so hard to take your bias out, but yeah, I'm definitely in camp sin bin.
Yeah. Look, as a Queenslander, obviously, I know I have a bias, but, we keep saying 5 penalties, but when we actually break down what the penalties were, the first one was a very touching, I don't think it was even a 6 again at all. The second one was an offside. And so an offside for me personally, you can just mistime that. That can literally just be a matter of mistiming. It could be totally not intentional. The third one was an escort. I don't even think that should be counted because it has nothing to do with the ruck. It's not slowing ruck down. It's a completely separate play. Yes, it should be a penalty, but I don't think it should be counted. So that's 3. The 4 and 5 were in the same play. So I think it was offside, and then Kaufusi, after hearing 6 again, every single 6 again we ever see, as soon as a club gives it away, they go, well, we've given away a 6 again anyway. I'm just going to lie on them, and they've got 6 again, so it doesn't matter. I personally don't think it was a sin bin. I think that if it had been 3 in a row of just lying in the ruck, 100% I could see a sin bin for sure. But because it was an escort, offside, I don't think it was a 6 again, fucking super tough call. When in reality, you're really looking at 2 lying in the rucks. 2 lying in the rucks for a sin bin. I think the ref handled it extremely poorly. He should have given a warning because if he gave that 10 in the bin, clearly he was already thinking it. Because let's hope, let's fingers crossed he didn't just make an emotional decision and send someone off. So he must have already been thinking about it. I think it's poor from him to not let the players know if you do give a penalty away again, you will be sent for 10 in the bin. If you did, I apologise. I didn't hear it. It seemed extremely sudden. DCE seemed quite surprised. I think the best course of action would have been if you do that again, you will be sent to the bin. So yeah, I thought it was an extremely harsh call that affected that. This thing is that New South Wales were the better side and they ended up winning convincingly. But that 10 in the bin is going to have an effect on the result. And I don't think that the penalties leading up to it warranted to have such an impact on the game. 10 in the bin. It's crazy.
I was just
So
going to say,
shit we're even talking about this.
I was going to say, I think it was in his head because on the escort penalty, and right or wrong, because on the escort penalty, Teddy came up to Klein and asked, is this 10 in the bin now? Because it was 3 in a row. I think from that, he definitely didn't give a warning, not that I heard, but I think that's why 10 in the bin might have been in Ashley Klein's head.
But like it fucking, like that escort has nothing to do with the ruck. It is literally not slowing it down. That's just a 50-50 thing that you could argue, yeah, Holmes stepped in his line, but by the end, anyway, well, it is what it is. I just think that it was handled really poorly. It was all different players as well. That's another thing. And like, he should have warned him. If it was already in his head, he should have communicated with DCE, mate, one more penalty and you're Gonskis. He didn't do that. And look, you don't have to give a warning, but I don't think it was the right call. But the positive from a negative thing from a Queensland's perspective, it absolutely wasn't why we lost the game. Like, it absolutely wasn't why we lost the game. New South Wales were a much better side, especially in that second half. They completely dominated us in the ruck. When you look at our forwards and you look at the metres that they ran, like, that's where we lost the match. We essentially had, like, our metres doubled, I think. Like, looking at the metres here. Yeah, so New South Wales ran for 1,800 metres. We ran for 1,000 metres. Like, 800 more metres than us. That has nothing to do with 10 in the bin, in the ruck or whatever. That has everything to do with nearly doubled our post-contact. That's just running harder, tackling harder. So, yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is.
I think, though, like, for Game 3, I would like to see the warning given to teams before this.
100%.
It should always be given.
It always should be given. Yeah. And you know what's really interesting is that, so the average play the ball speed was 3 and 3 Game 1. The average play the ball speed Game 2 was 4 and 4.
Yeah, right.
So it was a much slower game. So clearly, the ruck was being slowed down by both sides. But yeah, going forward, I hope the refs review it and say, mate, you absolutely should be given a warning, because what that does then is that takes away all argument. If you had given him a warning at any time, then we all would have agreed, mate. He said, "Fucking don't do it again, or you're gone." We would have had no argument against that. We would have said, "Boom, Kafusi 100% deserved it." But anyway, it is what it is. Is what it is. Back to Queensland. So look, with Queensland, we'll go positives. I thought Kalen Pong was outstanding. I thought Paddy Carrigan was outstanding. But outside of those two players, unfortunately, I thought we were pretty poor, unfortunately. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I thought KP, as I said at halftime, I was sitting there going, he's going to get man of the series here. He's on fire. Carrigan was good coming off the pine, but outside of that, I think he had 2 forwards that went over 50 metres. Yeah, as I said, I mentioned the back 3 run metres. There was one moment there, and he had a pretty poor game all round, Selwyn Cobbo, but there was one moment that I loved from him where he took a big hit up out of his own end. He got absolutely smashed. He dropped the ball. Then Queensland got the ball back a minute later, and he sprinted in to get the first hit up off the scrum. I did like seeing that from him, that despite making that big mistake, he tried to make up for it straight away. For a young guy, I thought that was a good positive to see.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed, unfortunately, with Cobbo. I just think that he wasn't switched on the way he was Game 1. I think he made 4 errors in Origin. It's pretty bad. It's tough.
It's pretty bad, but like, you're picking an 18-year-old in Origin. We did say this before.
Yeah, once you cross that line, he's proven he can do it. You set a standard for yourself, and Selwyn set his own standard. Like, he set the standard that he can play at this level. He belongs here. 4 errors is a lot of errors in Origin. Like, that's the most errors any player on the field.
I think we judge Selwyn on his response next game. That'll be telling.
No, I don't. I still think he's absolutely incredible. I still think he's absolutely, like, this game doesn't change my thoughts on him. I think he's fucking amazing. I think he's going to be here for the next 10 years. I think he's going to dominate Origin for the next 10 years. But I do think that he'll be really disappointed with that performance, unfortunately. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, look, you boys have touched on it pretty well already, but it's just that back three for me. And it was concerns going into Game 1. It was concerns going into Game 2. They're just the yardage that they get compared to what the Blues get. We are starting every set on the front foot. Yeah. And off the back of that, our forward pack and hookers just have a field day. Whereas Queensland, I mean, you mentioned our back three ran for about 400 metres more than yours. it just sets the tone for the entire set and the rest of the game. That first 20 minutes of the game, very evenly matched. Queensland were up 2-1. And then from there, we were just tearing through the middle. So I really think that's got to be the area of concern for you. And I think I know you pick and stick and you're loyal and all that, but I think tactically, Corey Oates has to come into that team just for your yardage. Like, I would say pretty confidently that, I know last night was a tough night for you, but Corey Oates probably pretty comfortably runs for 150 plus metres out of the back of the field. Yeah. So I just think he's got to come in there for a bit of size, probably for Tuolangi, who had a few nice moments but struggled at times as well. And to be honest, of the three, in your back three, yardage, he was probably the best, but I just think Corey Oates can set your platform a lot better than what those three together would do. Yeah,
for sure. Like, I said before the game I would have selected Corey Oates, and for that reason, like he is, as good as Tupou and probably just a little bit under To'o coming out of his own end. You look at his stats; they're rather similar when it comes to meterage. I'm pretty sure anyway, unless I've got that wrong. And he's just a big, old school body, even though he's still 27, but he's got that experience. To'olangi, he dropped one bomb forward, I think, and then one bomb went back. I don't think To'olangi was overly bad at all. Like, I don't think he was shocking. I thought he had some really tough carries. But unfortunately, the things that they could control, Origin, you really just cannot afford to make those errors. Like, they're so crucial to you just have to execute those big moments. Selwyn Cobbo as well in attack. Like, I know it was a hard put down, but in Origin, you need to take those moments. And unfortunately, it didn't. And Selwyn's a really interesting one because when he's zoned in, he's fucking unstoppable. And so it's just a matter of understanding, he's 18, he's a young player. I think he's 19 now. Yes, I totally get he's a young player, but this is where Billy will really kick in his good coaching ability of getting these young guys to go, like, it's okay that you have these bad games. We all do it. Everyone's had a tough game in Origin, but it's about limiting those. As you get older, having less and less of those bad games, making sure that the gap between your best and your worst game isn't that big, and you look at like a guy like Billy Slater or Cam Smith, by the end of their careers, they would never go 9 out of 10 and then the next week go 5 out of 10. And so this is all a learning curve for Cobbo. Like, obviously disappointing, didn't play his best game of footy, but as I said to you, Guru, like, absolutely doesn't change my opinion of him. He's an incredible player. He's a superstar talent. This is all part of the learning curve. We've had guys like Justin Hodges that came in and played poorly. Darren Lockyer had a pretty poor debut. Plenty of and this is even debut, but plenty of players have had poor games in Origin and gone on to be greats. And I still believe Selwyn can do that. What do you got?
Just checked your stat from before. So To'o's making 190 metres a game. Tupu's making 164 and Oates is in the middle with 178. So
it's comparable. Cool. Yeah, got it right. I thought you were going to say, unfortunately, he's making 70 metres a game. It's like, fuck. I just think that when you've got Tupou and To'o to compete with, you got to go with them. Like, you can't be beaten by such a substantial margin. And I think that is going to be a real challenge. Game 3 is like, for Billy to challenge the outside backs to go, boys, when we walk off this field, we don't want to look across and say, and I know they had more possession, so it's very easy. To'o had 26 runs. Tupou had 20 runs. Queensland, Selwyn Cobbo had 10 runs and To'olangi had 13 runs. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And I can understand having less meterage for sure, but I would be challenging the outside backs, whether it's To'olangi, Coates, Oates, Cobbo, and saying, guys, it doesn't matter about the meterage. It's about how many runs. If we can equal their runs, I'm happy with that. And I know the game plans are different. And again, I know they had more possession, but they're just outside backs. And look, we're focusing on the rookies here. To be fair, Holmes and Gagai didn't have their best games, and they're the veterans. And Billy Slater did bring this up, like they did. So the media was kind of, they're just asking questions. They weren't doing anything wrong, but they were kind of implying about rookies and youth and experience. And Slater said, look, it was across the board. It wasn't effort. We lacked concentration. We just switched off here and there. And so, I'm talking about Selwyn and To'olangi only because To'o and Tupou were so important to the Blues, not because they were singly worse than anyone else. I do think across the board, outside of Kalen and Paddy Carrigan, we just would just take moments and switch off. Just like, and that's like, you learn that as you get older, that you just cannot take a second off. Even if you think you can take a second off, you don't take the second off. And the thing with that is, like, 9 times out of 10, you don't take that second off and you go, oh, I actually could have taken that second off. But it's that one time, the perfect example is the Nano try. That ball, there's nothing on. It looks like Jerome Luai's just going to pass the ball. It's going to be all good. Nanai just switches off. It wasn't effort because he made the effort to get to the tackle, but that just a split second of getting flat-footed and thinking the ball is going past you, boom, try. And that's the learning curve for Queensland from game 2. It's concentration, because first half when we were locked in, zoned in, we go in, the score is 14-12. Second half when we get a bit lackadaisy, lose concentration, boom, we get blown off the park.
I was just about to mention that. Nanai missed tackle. Like, fuck, that was just like, we were sitting here 10 weeks ago and the kid missed 10 tackles.
Yeah.
He's worked so hard and he's improved out of sight. Fuck, it was disappointing to see him miss that tackle in that moment, because it's not the guy that he's been for. Like,
it's the same with Selwyn too.
Yeah,
Selwyn started the year with a bunch of errors. He proved all of us wrong and came back and did it. And you're totally right. Like, they put so much work in. It's just concentration. And I totally agree with Billy. It's not effort. I don't think any Queenslander should be sitting here saying, oh, the boys didn't have a crack or whatever. I thought they had a fucking red hot go, but it was just a little concentration moments that hurt us.
Nanai also had for the Angus Crichton try, which, to be honest, I thought was very dubious. I thought he caught it on the inside shoulder, but. And again, there's 10 different people you could point the finger at, but the size of the gap left there where Nanai was in the middle of the field for Crichton just to walk through, they were 2 not great moments for him, unfortunately.
And that's all just like concentration. Like, if you're switched on there, you identify, oh shit, the space between me and my inside man is way bigger than it should be. And instead of worrying about, because sometimes you could be like, you're sitting there, the hardest thing for a forward defender, and they don't get enough raps for it, when you're a forward defender, you have to worry about, if you don't get wide enough, then your outside men, they have too much space outside them and they get gassed. But if you don't get tight enough, that can happen. So you're caught in two worlds of like, I can't get too far across the post because then I leave my outside guys exposed, but I can't get too far this way because then I leave my inside guys exposed. Whereas like Nanai, he'll learn from that and he'll learn to identify, oh shit, he's way too far. I need to not worry about outside me and worry about where the ball is first, and then worry about what's outside of me. And so just concentration. It was an effort. I think they can be super proud. I thought they were outstanding the first half. Just lacked a little bit of concentration, and I think they'll be back better than ever next game.
I think it would have been an interesting game if Cobbo did get that ball down.
100%, for sure.
It was almost like Toto did such a poor job covering it up that he shocked him.
Yeah,
he shocked him into a mistake. But if he would have granted that, I mean, that could have turned the game on its head. Like, they could have gone in, 16-12?
I honestly think
16-14?
that like 14-12 New South Wales was reasonable, but I felt Queensland was the better side in the first half. I really did. And again, obviously that comes from a little bit bias. Not a better side by a lot, not at all. I just thought that we seemed to be more in control of everything. But the second half, we just got blown off the park.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say you were the better side, but at 14-12 at halftime, I was sitting there sort of going, fuck, this is closer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, for sure. Because like I was even saying on the companion with HSP, I was a bit surprised that New South Wales didn't come out even faster. Like, I thought they were going to come out flying off the line. Even the Telstra tracker, the speed of the game was way down compared to game one. Way down.
The fuck, you guys flew out of the blocks.
Yeah.
The first two sets, I was like, shit, we're in curry here.
Yeah. And so that's where I look at it and go, it's not like we were dominated Warrior to go. It was just second half. Maybe it was fatigue, maybe not. Just these key moments where we just switched off. Like even the try from Cleary on Tino, again, that's just concentration. Like Tino, he's not a guy that doesn't have a massive effort in him. It's just about that split second where you think the ball's going to continue forward instead of going, oh shit, I need to fill that space right now. And they get done. So look, the boys will be back better than ever. A little hiccup. But game 3 should be extremely interesting. Anything else with Queensland?
I was just going to ask you, so would you bring Corey Oates in for game 3?
Yes.
Okay. Is he the only change you'd make?
Well, if Cotter was available, I would make Cotter. I would also probably move Tino back into the front row starting and put Paddy Carrigan at 13.
Yep.
I just think Carrigan's motor is fucking outstanding. And I just... Oh, look, you might have the same problem because Tino and Paddy are a similar-ish body. Tino's a little bit bigger. But like, for example, Paddy came on interestingly, he actually played more minutes than Tino, which is interesting. But Paddy actually played 63 minutes of the game, and he made 43 tackles with only one miss. That's a big knock, and he's done it again. So I just wonder whether we start him to take the oomph out of the game a little bit because he's so good defensively.
How many minutes did Tino play?
He only played 38.
So what? Tino played 38, and what did you say? Papali played 35.
Papali played the first 17 and came on for the last 9. Surely there's more minutes in Josh Papali'i.
Yeah, interesting. And we had Lindsay Collins, who played 51 minutes. Yeah, really interesting to see what they do there, whether they stick. I know Slater has come out and said that, no, this is a team we selected, we're going to stick by them. He said, obviously, we're going to review the game. But if I were to make changes, it would only be small ones. It would maybe be Oates for Taulagi, and just because, look, is it a bit of a tough ask to have 2 rookies playing at one time on the Sting? And that's not to say I don't believe Taulagi can do the job. Not at all. I just personally would have had Corey Oates initially anyway. But I don't think mass changes need to be made at all. I really think it wasn't about the people we had. It wasn't about effort. It was just about little tiny areas that we can improve in. What about yourself? Would you make any changes?
I said before this game that I would have played Carrigan at 13. I don't think it actually would have made a difference in that game. But that's a change that I would make for game 3. I'd probably bring Corey Oates into, I think. Yeah, just so those yardage numbers, they're
pretty tough.
They're pretty damaging.
Yeah, for sure. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, Oates 100% would be coming in for me. And then, as I said, I don't think there needs to be mass changes elsewhere. Not panic at all.
Yeah.
The one that will be interesting, and I don't think it'll happen, but if David Fifita comes out and kills it this week for the Titans, you look at that and look at what Nanai dished up for them in that bench impact role. I know Fifita's had a bit of time out, but you know, if he can play a 30-minute impact role off the bench, again, as a Blues fan, that scares me.
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's tough when you've only got one game to show what you can do.
The difference between him and, say, Latrell is, I mean, I know Fifita's in the forwards, but Latrell will be coming in an 80-minute role. Fifita, as I said, he could be that 30, 25-minute impact off the bench. He doesn't have to be anything big.
Yeah, well, Jairo was only 25 minutes and Nanai was 29.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Really interesting to see what they do there. Because the thing about Fifita is, like, he sometimes can be hit and miss where he just doesn't seem to get his hands on the ball a lot. But if you go and say to him 20 minutes and you tip up DCE and Munster and say, get his fucking hands on the ball, and you say to Fifita, I just want you running straight and hard for the first 3 or 4 runs, and then you can start crabbing across field, it could be something special.
Rip and tear, mate.
Yeah, rip and tear. It could be really, just take all the guesswork out of the game. We've got some of the best halves to get in the ball. So, yeah, as I said, I'm not too disappointed with, I'm massively disappointed with the result, but there's no one that really I can look at and go, you didn't do the jersey proud. I think everyone tried their really, really hard. We've got a young squad that sometimes when you're young, you can switch off. We've all been through that as rookies, and it's just all a matter of learning and building and building. And I think Billy Slater is committed long-term to building this young group together, which I think is smart. We've proven in game 1 we can do it. We've proven in the first half of the game we can do it. All we need is an extra 40 minutes. Put it this way, even if we lose in Suncorp, let's say we lose 16-12 in Suncorp, is that bad of a series lost by Queensland when you think about the position we were in at the start of this season? Like, people were calling for that New South Wales was going to be a dynasty, and we were like, we got beaten by a record margin last year. So although I absolutely want to win, I think as long as it's a tight match in Suncorp, I don't think they could be too disappointed at all with the incredible squad we're going up against.
Yeah, but decider in Suncorp, like,
no, I hope to win.
Yeah,
but
you should win. I can't believe, we were talking about this morning, the Blues at $1.65. That is fucking outrageous.
But you have to remember, Blues beat us 2 games in a row in Queens. This is how far away we were from them last year.
It's a very different game now, though. Like, it has
It's only been 12 months.
Yeah, but the game's completely different. Not time-wise.
What do you mean?
Way the rules have changed. It's all like, it's a different game this year to what it was last year.
Not that much different.
You're kidding, aren't you?
You really reckon it's that much
Are
different?
you with me or not?
I'm terrified to speak of them.
Oh, Jesus, you're pretty passionate about this, Guru.
I thought it was blatantly obvious.
Do you reckon it's that much different in the game?
I think it is, yeah.
Do you reckon it's that much different to you?
Do you think you've improved that much this year?
Yeah, I think Queensland have improved massively compared to last year. We've got 2 teams in the top, well, they were in the top 4, whereas last year we had bottom table teams. I don't know. Do you think the game's changed that much? I think it's changed slightly, but not.
It's changed a bit. I'll say about this though, the Queensland, I think we're all in pretty much agreement about in round 6 onwards that it's almost 50-50. Whereas, like last year, I did think we'd probably win 5 series in a row. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's my point. My point is, like last year, we were talking about dynasties for New South Wales. We got beaten by a record margin. By game 2, you had already achieved a record margin defeat. Whereas this year, if we win game 1 and then it's a tight loss game 3, like I think that's a lot of progress made in 1 year.
Though, like the Blues always cop a hammering about, being too hyped up and the bookies have us too short and that. How about you talking about Queensland and the expectations there? So from last year, no Latrell Mitchell, no Tom Trbojevic. You've got a spine of like Kalen Ponga, Harry Grant off the bench, Cam Munster, DCE, Benny Hunt at 9. It's like that team is so good. So in terms of, saying a narrow defeat in Suncorp, compared to last year, it'd be like, all right, progress. But going into this series, as a Blues fan, I wasn't going, this dynasty should be continuing, we should be belting you. So I think it's like every bit 50-50 going into this last game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. I'm saying
progress-wise.
Yeah, but like if we lose 16-12, let's say we lose 16-12, that's like nearly 50-50. You know what I'm saying? Because we won the first game 16-12, lose the last game. I think that, like, I don't think Queensland should be too, like, oh, fuck, panic stations if we lost this series, considering how far we've come. Last year we lost by the most a team has ever lost in Origin. We lost by that, and we lost both games in Queensland last year. Like, that's hectic.
But it would be very disappointing being 1-0 up with a game at Suncorp in the bank.
I'm not sitting there going, oh yeah, we'd be sweet with it. I'm talking grand scheme of things. If we lose in the game 3, it's not panic stations. It's not like, fuck, we need to change everything. We need to change this squad. We need to get a whole new one. And I think we're building something nicely. And I think Billy would be smart to stick with this core group of young guys that he's got. But of course I want us to win.
I feel like I was being sold that bullshit underdog story again, to be honest.
I haven't said anything about underdog. Like, all I'm saying is...
If we lose by a little bit at home, it's okay. That's what I feel like you're selling me.
I'll tell you what, mate, you've walked into a Blues storm. Like, even the last...
I think your trauma is speaking for you guys.
It might be.
Even the last podcast, like, it was a Wednesday game, so there was 4 or 5 days to, let the emotions stop. This was like 12 hours ago that the Blues won.
All I'm saying is that it's not panic stations if we lose 16-12 or something like that. I mean, if we get fucking towed up, fucking oath, it's extremely concerning. I think we got something. We're building something nicely, and we should stay the course. And I agree with Billy Slater's sentiment after the game. He said, no, I picked this side and I'm sticking with it.
There'll be a 4th member of this panel after Origin 3. It'll be Billy Moore sitting next to
me. I need something. Jesus Christ. Apparently you're not allowed to say it's not panic stations. Apparently you're fucking doing something wrong there. No, I think, I think it's a great series. I think that it really is a close 50-50. I agree. And I've agreed, I felt that way since before the series. It's a good 50-50 series.
Speaking of Queensland, like, you obviously are building a good squad there. There's no doubt about that. If you were to lose game 3, which guys are sort of under pressure here? Are we looking at DCE?
Just depends who can replace him.
Yeah.
It really just depends who can replace him. Look, if we lose game 3, who's under pressure? Mate, honestly, not really. I don't know. I look at this squad and I don't really look at anyone that I would sit and go, like, you're definitely gone if we lose game 3. Look, maybe DCE, but again, you have to look at who would replace him. And you've got, Tommy Dearden, you've got Sam Walker, Reece Walsh maybe, but not really.
I don't have to sideways move, but thinking ahead, you could always go, like, Harry Grant starts Ben Hunt at 7.
Yeah.
Particularly for that defensive.
The only thing is we've tried that before and he just doesn't seem to go...
Yeah.
that well at 7 in Origin. It's an interesting one, but yeah, that probably would be the only... Is there anyone that you look at and you would go, yep, has to go?
No, there's no one that has to, but I would say with Ben Hunt, despite you have trying it, I would say that now Queensland have come out of that post Cam Smith, Billy Slater sort of era, which is, I kind of feel where Ben Hunt got his opportunities. He played 6-1 game where Cam Munster got HI8 and the Blues steamrolled you.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind seeing Ben Hunt there. I just think that... I think it's been pretty evident this series, as we've spoken about, that the Blues are going pretty heavily at DCE.
Yeah, for sure.
In defence. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
have a look
yeah.
at where they put Sifatalakai on the field last night when they did put him on standing directly opposite.
Yeah, and we've been speaking about DCE's defence for quite a while. He does have a tendency to turn in. It's really tough because he's been great. Like, he was part of that win where we were the worst side in 40 years. I mean, I better not say that. You might fight me or something if I say that we're the worst fucking side in 40 years. It wasn't me that said that shit. It was New South Wales journos that said that shit. No, but DC, he was great there. But look, I will say, as a captain of the side, and if we lose this series, that makes it what? Use a 4 from 5? Yeah. Then you have to look at the guys that are leading it, unfortunately. And DC would probably be the first. Outside of that, I think we've got a good young squad. Like, I think that you need to keep in guys like Papali'i because he's a leader, he's a veteran. I still think he delivers on the big stage. I thought he was good when he came back on last night. Is there anyone that you would look at and say...
No, that'd probably be the only one. Do we think that Did could be a 7 there, or do we think he's more a 6?
It's weird. It's like, I feel like you agree with me then.
With what?
Like, with my concept of, like, if we lose, it's not panic stations to make much changes. Like, stick with this team.
Oh, yeah, no. I just feel like you're peddling that same Queensland.
Fucking hell.
But anyway.
Jesus Christ.
We'll let the comments decide.
Well, mostly New South Wales.
Fans,
yeah,
please.
Blues fans are fucking going to pepper me. And I'm like, what have I even done? All I've said is, like, don't change the whole squad if we lose by 4 points.
Kempy, it was a long 8 years for us. Mate.
Fucking hell. Jesus.
I went through the entire high school without seeing.
That's crazy.
Blues,
Look, fair enough. But yeah, I guess that is my all jokes aside, my underlying point is the fact that even if we do lose at Suncorp, which will be devastating, which will be fucking shit, like we should not lose at Suncorp, but even if we do, I don't think it is time to panic. I like Billy Slater's plan. I like the direction it looks like he's trying to go in, and I wouldn't be making mass changes, maybe 1 or 2 or whatever. I do agree with considering Ben Hunt at 7. If DCE does struggle game 3, I agree that could be a possibility.
You could obviously then go Harry Grant and Reid Marnie as well.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see, do they do what they did with Benny Hunt? They put Reid Marnie on the first 20, take the brunt of the defence, then pull Harry Grant on. So it's definitely a possibility, but outside of that, I would, Valen Holmes is proven, Dane Gagai is proven, Selwyn Cobbo, obviously, if he has another couple poor games, then you'd have to consider just giving him some more time to develop. But I think he's there for the long term. To'alangi, I think he's up to it. He just needs a little bit more time, maybe. Lindsay Collins, he's proven he's up to it. Papali'i, obviously, Kurt Caywell, Kafusi, Tino. You know what I mean? It's not really anyone that I would change that much.
I think Collins has done incredibly well this year. He's a front rower coming off an ACL injury.
Yeah, for sure.
He's blown me away how good he's been.
The one thing I'd probably like promote Paddy Carrigan's role in the squad and team. I just think he's just getting closer and closer to that leadership role. Probably even start preparing him to take over captaincy, because I'm trying to look at this side now. Next captain outside of DCE, maybe Benny Hunt.
Munster?
I wouldn't put that extra stress on Munster's head. I really wouldn't. I just think let him be free, let him enjoy himself. But I don't think we're there yet. I think DCE can get the job done. I really do. I think game 3, he's done it before. He's done it at Suncorp before. We won that decider where we had a team that wasn't as good. So I think get the job done. Anything else about Queensland, boys?
I just hate him.
Fucking hell. Jesus Christ.
Back me, Matty. Something.
No, I'd just say there's only one judiciary charge out last night, and it was Cook's cannonball, but it's only a fine. So Cleary was fine.
I didn't think that was a cannonball.
Yeah, neither. I thought he got him above, well above the knee.
Well, and he didn't bend over it either. It was just I feel like his leg just got caught. I feel like his ankle, just got caught on the ground. If his ankle doesn't get caught there, he slides. And you can make the argument, well, it got caught because he was fucking... But, yeah, I didn't see that as a cannonball. I really didn't.
The other one, I think I saw a physio post about it this morning. I think Cam Munster, is he carrying a bit of an injury?
Yeah, shoulder, going for scans.
So that's one to keep an eye on. I think that's at a potential 2 to 4 weeker.
Fuck, KP forced off with another HIA at the 71st minute. Fuck me, man.
Worrying. Yep.
Just getting, he's too brave, bro. You've just got to... I know he gets... The tough thing for KP is he gets so much shit for his defence anyway. but he puts his body on the line so much. I just hate seeing him get banged up. But yeah, he's been outstanding.
Physio said AC joint injury with direct shoulder contact. If confirmed, mostly a pain management issue, but can require 2 to 4 weeks recovery. So you'd have to assume that he would play regardless. But
yeah, I think they'll need to get him out there game 3.
Yep.
So look, massive congratulations to Blues. Easily the better side. Cleary was outstanding. Travojevic was outstanding. Bola was outstanding. Burton was outstanding. To be honest, I don't think there was a single bad player for the Blues. Not a single bad player.
Yep.
Now, on to the women's origin. After falling behind early, 4-0 deficit, New South Wales hit back with 2 tries. Look, what a win by New South Wales. Getting the, winning that battle back. I think was it 2 in a row they had lost, I think? Yeah. And then last year there was that penalty on the buzzer that was very controversial. But yeah, New South Wales, I thought Isabella Kelly. Is it Isabella? Isabel, sorry. Isabel Kelly is an absolute beast. Honestly, the amount of runs she was taking and just like the PCMs, the contact, she's a beast. She's an absolute gun. She was so important to their go forward. But I want to give a massive shout out to Caitlin Johnson. She was a beast off the bench. Like just the energy she brought. I reckon she'll be a real crowd favourite. She has that, just something about her. Like she's just really fun to watch. Even that one where like she does the kickoff and she like sprints to catches it, nearly drops it, but then holds onto it, and then just runs directly north, straight, boom, into the line. I thought she was outstanding. Look, great win by New South Wales. For Queensland, I thought their number 6 was really good. Aikens, is it?
Aiken. She's like the Munster equivalent.
Yeah, she's really slick. Yeah. Look, a great win by the girls. What did you guys think about the game?
I thought the Blues fullback, Tonagato, she was unreal.
Yeah,
she's got a brilliant try.
She's a Dally M, current Dally M. Her and Millie, isn't she?
Her and Millie, yeah. And then there was a play, I think it was the same set just earlier, where she made a break from about 30 metres out and she got held up, but she was just so quick. She made a break a little bit later, and your fullback, Upton, made a really good one-on-one tackle on her as well. It was an exciting finish. Obviously, had Queensland scored the match winner, then it got pulled back, the offside.
It's offside by like 10
metres.
metres.
Offside by a fair whack.
How are you still?
She would have got the Logie for that
I got to say, and I understand, I feel a bit sorry with the refs because I know that they wouldn't have resources in the training, but the girl, like some of those calls towards the end there were really tough on the girls, like in a sense of like the standard of reffing, like that forward pass was so obviously forward. So I did think that the last 10 minutes of reffing, the standard unfortunately wasn't the best. Again, with a caveat, they don't have the same training or resources, haven't been as much. So I understand it's going to take a while for that standard to lift, but it's more just from a perspective of like, I want to make sure the girls that are playing Origin get, a good quality reffing and contest. But outside of that last 10 minutes, it was a decent game for the refs.
I thought that try that Kira Dibbs scored too was a cracking individual effort.
Yeah.
I think we've got to turn this game into a 3-game series, I think.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one. With the women's game, we have to be really careful of going too far too soon. And why I say that is because like you look at all you have to do is like look at netball at the moment. Like they nearly, I think, may go into bankruptcy, women's netball, and that's been self-sufficient for a substantial amount of time, and they just made a few wrong decisions here and there, and all of a sudden, a game that was safely plugging along could be filing for bankruptcy. Now I don't know the full ins and outs. I've just read a couple articles on it, and so with the women's game, I agree. I want to see 3 games. Please let me be clear about that. But we have to make sure that it's financially viable. It's not going to put too much strain on the women's game, because it's really important we do this right so that we build for the future. We want a foundation that works, not a foundation. We don't want to rush things and then get to a point where we've spent so much money and the investment hasn't come back as quickly as we thought we would, and then all of a sudden we're fucking closing games down. It just looks so bad PR-wise. But I agree with you. I would love to see 3 games. And
I think with the netball, obviously the COVID's had a big impact, and it has on the NRLW, of course, as well. So there is. But yeah, just from a selfish football point of view, I thoroughly enjoyed this game.
Yep,
and
agreed.
I would want to see 3.
Yep, totally agree.
It's going to be 2 next year.
It's going to be 2 next year.
Yeah.
Look, and I just, in defence of the NRL, to a degree, like, I don't think people realise how expensive these things are to put on. Like, it's not as simple as everyone just rocks up, the tickets go on and they play a bit of footy. like the amount of money that gets put on to put this on, and the girls' game. So the men, they're actually the ones that agree to give some of their revenue to support the women's game, which is the right thing to do, and I really appreciate and respect that the men do that. And a lot of people, there is a bit of a push to make the women's game its own thing and kind of self-sufficient. But I think, look, I think use the men's game as long as you can as a women's game. Like it's there, the money's there, the boys have agreed to it. Use the support. Like, why not? We're all one big community. I know they want to become their own independent entity, and end result for sure. Like, that's definitely what you want. Where it's self-sustaining, they can make it as big or as small as they want to. But I think like right now, like I think that they should kind of embrace it. And okay, yeah, the men's money revenue does help us a little bit, but they are adding to the game. It's not like the men don't get anything out of it. Like, the more women that watch the game, it's the better for the men as well. So we all win if the girls win, if the women's game wins. But again, to be clear, I do want a 3 games. I just wanted to point out, like, it does cost quite a bit of money. Timmy, thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think the NRL deserve such a pat in the back for the way they've developed the NRLW as a product, because there was a lot of pushback when it first launched about there only being 4 teams in the competition.
Yeah.
But they were patient. They said, no, we need the 4 teams to be dishing up quality football. And they did, as opposed to putting 8, 10, 12 teams in it and having it weaker across the board because the talent pool wasn't there. Because then there's less people watching, there's people complaining about the product. The product was really good from the start. Then I think they went to, was it 6 teams? There's another 4 sides coming in next year. And they're developing it slowly. They're getting the origin. They build it up just game by game. As we said, 2 games next year. And as they do it progressively and quite slowly, the talent is just getting better and better. And I think they've done it fantastically well, and it's going to pay dividends long term for the NRL, for the NRLW, for the development of females in rugby league. I think it's been brilliant. On the game itself, I thought the Blues, they've got a really exciting side in there, and their spine. They've got Tonga, Pearson, Dibb and Davis, who... There's a lot of special footballers there. Tonangato's a star, and she's a rugby convert, still learning the game. I want to shout out to one of my good mates, is like a diehard country footy fan from Hay out in Western New South Wales, a long way out there. And for years and years, he was just spruiking this Rachel Pearson girl to me and how good she was out there and just scoring 10 tries a game and belting them. And he's like, if she got a crack in NRLW, she'd kill it. Anyway, this year finally she thought, I'll give it a bit of a crack. Got scouted out by the Dragons, got brought down from Hay to live down in Wollongong. Played with them this year, killed it. Got caught up to the Blues.
Got to a grand final.
Yeah, got to the grand final. Played for the Blues, and then the difference in the end ended up being the kicking game. He was telling me about this girl who was slotting them from the sideline back home and just a freak. And I think she missed maybe 1 out of 5 or something. And I think they beat them by 4 points. So congrats to Rach Pearson and that side. It's good.
Yeah, for sure. It's really exciting, man. And the product and the girls' ability has just come leaps and bounds. Like, even some of their passing, just the quality of it is so much better than it was only 2 years ago. And that's all just down to giving women an opportunity to train, to be able to do it. So, look, it's great. I think what I like about it as well is that it actually is quite different footy to the men's game. Like, it is very open. There's not as much wrestle. I actually kind of... Look, obviously the men's game is what I enjoy the most, but I do like the fact that it is offering a different kind of footy.
It's a bit of a throwback to sort of 90s footy before the wrestle really came in and dominated. You can get offloads, you can play off the back of it, and sort of, it's a bit more unorthodox, I guess you say, compared to what we see in the NRL. It's free, that's a better way to put it, So it's exciting to see. Yeah,
and I thought on the weekend, what I'm liking about it as well is, like, you're really starting to see that rivalries being born, and there's a bit of not bitterness, but a bit of passion and hate between the sides. There's a bit of a push and shove between Kelly Apps and I think one of the Queenslanders, I think. So, yeah, look, great game. I thought Keely Davis was outstanding as well, the hooker for the Blues. She put that grubber in for, was it Tonagato that... Who scored that? Was she? Was it Tonagato?
The closest dead ball line? Yeah, that was Tonagato.
That, to put that grubber in, like, the skill to do that is fucking tough. She was running to her right, kicks it back across to Tonagato that somehow gets it down just before the dead ball line. But I want to give a massive shout out to I can't believe that I don't have her name here, and I know Jada. What's her last name? Jada.
Taylor.
in the under-19s.
Under 19s. Yeah.
Did you see that length of field
Cracking
try?
Oh, my
Holy
God.
shit. What a try. That was unbelievable. It was like literally 105 metres, like the whole length. It was the length of the field.
borderline, yeah.
Incredible stuff. But yeah, sorry, back to the women's game. Who was your man of the match? My man of the match, I couldn't, woman of the match, apologies. I couldn't split Emma Tonegado and Caitlin Johnson. Who was your man of the match?
Yeah, I went Tonegado. I thought she was lethal.
Sorry, my apologies, bro. I couldn't split Kelly and Johnson, sorry.
Yeah, I went Tonegado. I thought she was unreal. She got held up at another point, made a line break at another moment, scored that try. I thought she was sensational. I think that if Queensland would have won the 5-8, as we mentioned, Aitken, I thought she was great. She's yeah, that's the thing about that Queensland side. They've got a lot of the Broncos in there, as they would. But they've got a lot of combinations in there. So for the Blues to come in there with combos from all clubs, I think it was the halves, their first time playing together, I believe. It was a really good knock because that Queensland side, they're stacked. Brigginshaw, Aitken, Upton, like there are some superstars in that side.
What about you, Timmy?
Yeah, I
Man of the
had
match?
tough one, but I went Tonegado just because a lot of big plays. So she had 160 metres, 3 line breaks, a try and an assist. Isabel Kelly was 190 metres with 13 tackle breaks and 16 tackles, 1 miss. So I went Tonegado, but the other one was Samoa Taufa, 65 minutes
Yeah, she was
prop,
massive, yeah.
144 metres, 32 tackles.
She got through
That's-
so much
that's
work, man.
immense.
Yeah, fucking oath. And she was just just going all day, so aggressive. Matter of fact, like, you know, Millie Boyle is the premier front row, but I probably thought Toffa probably was the best front row on the field, which, and again, Millie was still great, but Toffa was
I
outstanding.
would have said before that probably Chelsea, Lenarduzzi and Millie were probably the premier front rowers.
Yeah.
I think she upstepped them both.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Outplay. Yeah, absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Queensland centre, Ivania Politi. She was outstanding. A try, 8 tackle breaks, 100 metres. She was just probably Queensland's most dangerous, like constantly a threat, constantly putting New South Wales defence under pressure. Look, great game. Really, really good game. And look, if we can, if it's smart for the women's game, and again, this is all about, you know, this is all coming from a place I want the women's game to be. Again, put it this way, guys. If you're a bloke out there, even if you don't enjoy the women's game, which is your right, you don't have to be forced to like any game. It's better for us, if you want to think of it selfishly, it's better for us as a men's game if the women's game is going well. Because all that does is add more eyeballs and more people enjoying the game. And if you can crack into that women's market, that is like millions of new fans that can enjoy our game. So even if you don't watch the women's game, which I honestly give it a try. It doesn't mean you have to watch it every single game, but it's really getting better. But even if you don't watch it, it's still better to support it because it supports our game as well. It really, really does. What do you got there, Matty?
I was just going to say, I'm pretty sure Kezi Apps, Samoa Taufa, as you spoke about before, and Izzy, like they've been in the team, the New South Wales team since. Because Queensland, not many people know this, like it only became Origin, I think, in like 4 or 5 years ago. Actually, in 2018 or 19, Izzy actually won the Golden Boot that year, and she scored the match-winning try at North Sydney Oval. But I think those three. But before that, Blues won in 2016, and there was a draw the year before that, and then Queensland won the 17 before that, like all the way going back all the way to the 90s. So Kezi, Taufa, and Izzy, apologies if I'm missing anyone else, have been in that team pretty much the whole time. They've been mainstays in this Blues team. So really happy to see them notch up another win.
Sure. You know what I loved? I thought was so fucking cool. It's like, it was such... There's so many things you think you know that you don't know. Like, for example, before women's MMA come along, I was like, I would never watch women fight. Like, it's just not interesting to me. Then they come along and they prove me wrong. And you go, you know what? I'm so wrong. I can be so wrong about so many things. I was wrong about that. But what I loved about watching women's MMA is like how differently they deal with like a win or a loss to the men sometimes, but they're just as tough. Anyway, what I thought was great was the girls all singing Veronica's Untouched. And like, obviously blokes would never do that, but I love that it's girls, the women, being able to celebrate it in their style, in their fashion, and enjoying themselves with it. Like, it's their own way of doing things, and it just was fucking cool to watch. So they knew every single word. Could you imagine a bunch of blokes singing Untouched by Veronica?
I can't, but if it did, I think they'd know all the words to it just quietly.
Hey, look, you cannot say it's not a banger because that's a banger. I will hear no Veronica disrespect. The Veronicas are fantastic, but it was just a cool moment, just to see, that they celebrate like that and embracing, that side of them, like not that side of themselves, but just differently. It's like when I watch women like Shevchenko and Nunes, they win their fights. They express themselves sometimes, not all the time, differently to the men. And I thought it was a really cool moment. Seeing them with the ski goggles on as well, getting around it, seeing the videos of them on the beers after, like in the club and that. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Cool little moment.
There's so many backstory. I remember talking to Maddie Studden, who was the halfback a couple of years ago. Like, in order for her to play Origin, she had to quit her job.
Yeah.
She wasn't able to get the time off.
Yeah.
It's those little things that also go into this where, a lot of them are getting jobs that work around their training.
They're making, like, the women that we're watching now, and also the women before, like Sims and all that kind of stuff, like, they're making a lot of sacrifices for the next generation. And I know when we, me and Timmy sit here and go, look, be patient, make sure it's the right thing to do. It's easy for us to sit here and say that because we're not the ones that don't have full-time footy options. So I can understand the girls, I understand the girls wanting it to happen now because they're like, well, we're putting in the work. Like, we're putting in heaps of work. Look, really exciting. And to be honest, over the last year or two, the reception online is just getting more positive. Like at this, a couple of years ago, you put women's result up, bunch of dickheads fucking talking nonsense. Whereas now you get one dickhead comment, you delete it, you fucking see you later, mate. And you know what? I'm excited I'm literally excited for next year's Origin now, and I'll definitely be watching it. Now, massive congratulations to New South Wales girls, and it has been confirmed Veronica's Untouched is a classic. It's a classic and it's a banger, a certified slapper, if you will. Now, on to under-19s. You guys get a chance to watch the under-19s?
Yeah.
We've spoken about the women's, obviously, the women's dominated, New South Wales dominated Queensland. Jada was outstanding. Jada Young, was it again? Sorry.
Taylor.
Jada Taylor.
Yep.
Sorry, Jada Taylor. Apologies. She was amazing at the back there. Was there anyone that impressed you though in the under-19s men's? I thought, surprise, Melbourne Storms next bloody 7, 4 try assists. I thought he was incredible. Was anyone that impressed you in the under-19s?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. That Pizzetti's obviously from Newcastle. He arrived in the Melbourne Storm system and
Newcastle.
Yeah. Exactly right.
We talk about their juniors. Every week we're talking about the issue with Newcastle is they don't have junior system sorted.
Yep.
Boom. We watch a guy in the under-19s get 4 try assists. I can't express to you how hard that is. That under-19s game, that's the best of the best. You're watching, I reckon at least 50% of them will play NRL. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. But Pizzette, I've watched him play, like he used to play SG ball and all that with the Melbourne side, the Thunderbolts. They come up and traditionally they're a pretty average side.
Yeah.
And you can always see that, you could always tell that he was talented. I didn't expect him to be this good, but it's a good example of when you put, when you take a good player out of an average team and put them around good players, they can just go to another level. I thought Weaver was going to be the one to watch, the ball player from the Titans who was playing for New South Wales. But yeah, that was a very impressive game. I
thought Trey Mooney.
Yeah,
he's a weapon. Yeah.
Raiders have got something special there. He was in our faces. Like, we had our biggest front rower, I think he's a boxer as well. Trey Mooney was constantly in his face, patting his head, all that Origin shit. I thought Trey Mooney was outstanding. You've got a little bit, not to do with him, but you're obviously a Raiders fan.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of him through New South Wales Cup with the Raiders, and he's dominated for them as a young bloke all year as an edge player. So it surprised me a little bit when he was named at lock for the Blues. And we speak about pretty well every week on this podcast the importance of that link man as a lock in the current day game. And he played as a really efficient, really effective ball playing lock.
Yeah.
He is just an animal. And the fact that he can so easily go between now, middle and edge just adds another notch to his game. He was fantastic, and I'd be surprised if we probably didn't see him play a couple more games this season. Granted, the Raiders' forward pack depth is huge, but he's special.
Really promising signs for the Raiders, though. To have a guy like that starring, I'm trying to think, like, do Raiders usually have you've got Croak, you've got Dugan, Ferguson. So they've had a history of having really good juniors.
Really good juniors. Raiders. A lot have come through.
Yeah, so Trey Mooney, he was outstanding. And it wasn't just the aggression he brung, like obviously 147 metres, but 23 tackles, no misses. But it was the little things. So, as a Queenslander, I was kind of like, boys, get up and Like, so basically, I think the Queensland front row had like dropped a ball or something, and all the New South Wales come over and got in his face and were like, doing the head rub and that, and no one was arcing up. I was like, boys, this is Origin. Like, you can't let your front rower get head patted by someone. Like, what's going on? I mean, look, I'm a fucking winger. What can I talk about? But
there's a few Raiders in there actually, so Raiders fans can get a bit excited.
Yeah, okay.
Brad Morcos as well,
quite
good, and then Samoa, I think you pronounce it, on the wing for the Blues as well. So a bit of green fever around there, which is exciting.
I thought that Morcos, he was really good because on the other side of the park, you had Jojo Fafita and you had Robert Toya. Fafita's with the Gold Coast Titans. Toya's down here with the Roosters at the moment. And I've watched Toya play all this year in SG Ball. He was pretty quiet in this game, to be fair. He'll play first grade next year, I reckon. Toya.
Yeah, it's a really hard game to stand down in because it's
Very
a one-off and you barely train together. So it's kind of like do your best. It really is.
And as much as he wasn't huge, that front rower that you mentioned, that's the boxer, Xavier Va'a, he was in the Broncos system. The Roosters pulled him away and the Broncos filthy about it.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on him.
He's a gun. He's a weapon. Yeah, ran for 143 metres, 23 tackles, only one miss. He's a weapon. And he's an enforcer. Like, even though, I just talked about the fact that they were getting head patted, no one.
Yeah.
But he's a boxer, I'm pretty sure. I think he even offered to fight Paul Gallen.
Well, he sparred with him, and from people that were there, reckon he well and truly held his own.
Yeah, and so we're talking about an under-19 bloke that I'm pretty sure he said he would be willing to fight Paul Gallen in the ring.
He's got a younger brother that they've brought down as well that they reckon is just as good. You know who else, and I didn't even realise, the 15, Takura, I believe it's pronounced. Do you remember when we were watching the Broncos play that first pre-season trial against Winner Manly, and there was that gigantic fella that was coming off the bench for you?
Yeah.
That's him. He's 18.
Really? Wow, 18.
He was the giant, hey? Like he's over 200 centimetres, they said in commentary.
And I remember watching that game, and there was him and Corey Jensen that were in the front row, and we sat there and went, geez, these two are going well, and this kid, he could be something. That's him. He's young.
Yeah, wow. That's great for the Broncos. Quick wrap-up on Jack Howarth. Good moments, really good moments. 10 tackles, 0 misses. His physicality, though, like he's in contact, his strength is pretty fucking impressive. I know you don't like to hear this, Guru, but I think he's an edge running forward.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Unfortunately, I'll follow my sword there. I think it'll be interesting next year what the Melbourne Storm do. They're obviously going to have 2 vacancies in their back row. I think Trent Learu will take one of them.
Yep.
But Howarth, he could be the other one. It's interesting with Melbourne. They've obviously had a couple of injuries in their outside backs, and they've been short on their bench and whatnot as the season gone on, and they haven't even really looked at Jack Howarth from what I've gathered.
Yeah, they're being very patient with him. Very patient.
He's on a 5-year deal. They're being incredibly patient with him.
Unheard of at the Storm. Before playing NRL on a 5-year deal worth $500K a year.
Mate, unheard of if you played 200 games in the NRL for the Melbourne Storm to do that.
100%. But yeah, look, you could see his class though. Watching the game on the weekend, you could see this he's a little step above this this level of footy. Who else? Look, Blake Moser. I know he got sent off for that was a crazy tackle, bro.
Yeah.
Did you see that tackle?
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Holy shit.
Like WWE.
Yeah, I was like, bruh, you are super lucky you didn't get. Was it 10 in the bin?
Yeah, he got 10.
He should have been set off, bro, because that was hectic. He had some really good moments though. I can see the class there. Now he's at the Broncos, I'm pretty sure, as a youth.
He's just re-signed. Yep.
Yeah, you can see the class there. Now I think sometimes he overplayed his hand a little bit, but he's definitely a classy 9, and it gives me a lot of hope for that 9 role going forward for the Broncos. I definitely liked some moments from him. Obviously, who else was there?
The other one that's good that was quiet in this game though was the fullback for Queensland, Isaiah Longy, I believe it is. He actually started the season in the under-21s as their fullback for Penrith. So in that Penrith system, he's playing 2 or 3 years above himself as a fullback.
Wow.
So one to keep an eye on there. Obviously, we'll talk about another Penrith fullback that carved it up this weekend, but another one there.
Yep.
There's a number of these like Toya, Chatfield, Mooka, Va'a, all these guys the Roosters have got down in their system. So they've gone out and found.
Toya is the perfect example. Like, he is fucking special, super special. 10 tackle breaks, 159 metres, super silky. But it's just that choosing your moments. There was a couple moments where he did everything right. The skip on the outside, the flick looked good, but it just didn't land. Now, look, to be fair, it's a mixture of two things. If you don't play with that winger very often, they don't know whether to be flat, a bit deeper, all that kind of stuff. But he looks fucking special, man.
To be fair, he's played the whole SG ball season with that winger.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, they've been
okay. Well, then that's.
But I can tell you this, Robert Toya, he lands those 9 times out of 10. That was
that was an off night. Okay. Yeah. Well, I take everything back. That was his fault. Your fault, Robert.
Let him have it.
No, but outside of that, man, he's fucking special, man. He is strong as shit. He's quick. He's fucking strong. Like in contact, really, really hard to take down. I think he ran for the most meters for Queensland from centre, which is pretty damn good in an under-19s game. So, yeah, he's definitely one to watch. And, yeah, look, Fafita as well. I actually am really surprised that the Titans haven't looked at Fafita this year. Now, I know they are quite flush on outside backs, but I think Fafita's got something about him. I really do. I thought he held his own. Was it a trial against Katoni Staggs that he had? I thought he held his own in that trial. But, yeah, standout for me in the backs was definitely Toya. He's got something about him. He's big, he's mobile, he's got the soft hands. So going to be interesting to see whether he plays centre or wing when he comes into the grade.
The other one in this Queensland side was the halfback, Thomas Duffy. He's in the Blackhawks system up there in Townsville. I think he set up the first try and then Queensland weren't in the contest after that realistically. But he's another really talented young kid.
Is it concerning that we were fucking oosed in every single game? Queensland?
I thought you'd win this game. I really did. When I looked at your team before we came into this one, between the front rowers and the centres, I genuinely thought you'd win this game. When you scored the first try, I thought New South Wales were going to be in some trouble, but then you didn't fire a shot after New South Wales got on the front foot.
No. And we were handily beaten in the girls' game was probably the closest, the women's game, sorry. Look, I will say that I know maybe I'm giving too much credit to Freddie, but he has had a lot to do with these young systems. And their young systems are clearly working. We just got beaten in every age group. That is pretty fucking scary as a Queenslander. What do you got there, matey?
I was just going to say, the last two under 20/19s games have been cancelled due to COVID. But in the last game in 2016, I'll just read out a few names that played in that game. Tex Hoy, Stephen Crichton, Jason Saab, Matt Burton, Blake Taft, Spencer Linu, Teague Wilton, Stefano, Alex Seyfarth, Tino Fa'asul-Mali, Ethan Bullimore, Murray Tulangi, and Renato Mulatalo.
Yeah. You're basically not guaranteed to play NRL, but you're a real good chance. A real good chance. It's almost, if you make that side, it's almost on you as to whether you play NRL or not.
And worth noting too, the 5, Jack Bostock, I think you posted a video of him scoring a good try.
That finish was crazy.
He's the kid that the Dolphins have signed from the Steelers. So one to keep an eye on. I believe that he's not in their top 30 next year. But then after that, he in his contract, he gets upgraded to their top 30.
Nice. I mean, it wasn't handed to him because there was a forward pass or something before it, but that was a crazy finish. Fuck, that was a crazy finish. So look, what a weekend for New South Wales. Seriously. A little hiccup last game one, but you literally could not have asked for a better weekend as a New South Wales fan. Your juniors look in good shape. Your women's game looks in good shape. Queensland are massive underdogs.
He's doing it again.
Fuck it hell. Now, on to the international games. I will say, gentlemen, I loved Rep Round. I think it should stay. I'm surprised that I read or heard some that they're not doing it next year.
Yep.
Look, I understand the concern with, selections and pledging allegiances. I get all that. But I just think if we make it clear at the start of the year, you pick your selection of your number one nation. So, for example, New South Wales is my number one. If I don't make New South Wales, I want to be available for Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, PNG, all that kind of stuff. Or the other way around. Tonga is my number one. If I don't make Tonga, I'll make New South Wales or whatever it is. And I just think that gets rid of any of that drama. And look, yes, okay, there will be some players torn between playing for their state or their country. I just think we gained so much this week by seeing teams like New Zealand and Tonga play. Fiji, PNG, Samoa versus the Cook Islands, who were really brave, especially in that second half. I loved the weekend. I really, really did. And also, it gives some players that don't even really have clubs opportunities to stand out. Some PNG boys were outstanding. But let's get to the first game. Well, first of all, about rep round. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I loved it. I think you mentioned there, obviously, guys that might not have clubs that get a chance to stand up. Also, guys that do have clubs that get to play more prominent roles in teams. Like you saw AJ move to fullback. I thought Tane Milne in the 13 was really good for Fiji.
Yeah.
Like there's a heap of guys that get to take a few steps in. Tony Staggs got to play 6. The Manly centre, Kohler, got to play fullback. So, yeah, I think it's great. I really don't think there's any negatives to come out. And
are you surprised that they may not be doing it next year?
yes. Yeah, but it's very NRL, though.
Am I hearing the wrong mail with that?
No, apparently it is true that it's not going to happen next
Did
week.
they give a reason?
From what I've seen, I don't know if they're definitely not going to do a rep round. They're just going to have 3 Origins on Wednesday next year. So whether that means putting the rep round, maybe putting I want to see them put a rep round on Anzac Day weekend and then bring over England and then all the countries can play. Anyway, I don't know if they're not going to do a rep round, but they're definitely not going to do it in the same format as they're doing it this year.
It's like, yeah, okay, if every Origin on Wednesday, that's cool. Just do it on the weekend then, in the bye round.
Yeah. And I mean, I think our players need as much rest as they can have.
Yeah.
As much as all these guys have to play, you get the rest of the competition gets to have a bit of a spell.
Yeah, and look, if you want to play New South Wales Q Cup. Like if you're desperate to play, but look, I don't think any players are playing not enough footy. Like if anything, the season's too long. Seriously, it's so brutal. It's actually something going forward that I think that we'll find that they're going to really. I don't know whether they will, but I think it would be smart to reduce like seasons to like 20 games. And look, I understand Fox and Nine and all the networks aren't going to want that because of money, but the amount of damage they're doing to their bodies because how much they play. Anyway, different story.
I think just at a smaller argument, but another one that I heard on the weekend was that next year, because of the Dolphins are coming in, someone's got to have a bye every weekend, right? So where you get your bye is going to be really important, obviously. For example, if the Broncos get their bye round 1, you'd be pretty dirty, yeah?
Yeah.
The other side of it is that if they have this rep round, you would have 2 teams that would have a bye either week of a bye anyway, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's the other side that I heard that they see as a bit of an issue. It's a minor thing, but
Yeah. So
it is going to suck as the Broncos if you get your bye and then the next week after is rep round, you get a 2-week spell when another team might have their bye round 26 and they get a spell before finals.
yeah, I get that.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
but
I understand that. I just think that we lose so much with the rep games. Just suck it up. Okay, we didn't get our bye. We'll find a way to recover.
I am looking forward to seeing who gets the bye round 1 next year.
Yeah, you'd be
That's
filthy,
going to be
though.
fucking carnage.
Oh man.
Surely it can't be the Dolphins. Like, surely you want them there round 1.
But like, it's just bad for the club too. Like everyone else is getting hyped
Who misses
up.
out on Magic Round?
Yeah, that's going to be weird. I think that they should play on Magic Round. They should play the winner. Oh, but then someone might get injured. I was going to say the winner of the reserve grade comp maybe, but it's the Magic Round situation's weird because like you can't have them playing if it doesn't contribute to their points and if someone gets injured and rah. Anyway, that's going to be interesting to see who misses Magic Round each year.
Well, I think for next year, I'd probably give the Warriors the break just to save them travelling back to Australia for another game. But then after that, what do you do?
It's interesting. It almost like it forces the issue of this 18th team because it's like we need that team in here. Otherwise, it just fucks our whole plan up when it comes to even numbers.
And you watch the blow up when a Melbourne or a Roosters get a bye in round 25 or 24 before finals.
Maybe what they do is they just go by the ladder. So, if you win the comp, you miss round 1. To try and even up the playing field or something.
Yeah, but I don't think the NRL would do that because they'd want their best team on TV.
I'm just trying to think fairness though.
Yeah, I agree. But this is where it's going to get tough though because they're going to try and balance it.
Yeah, really interesting.
I think the NRL will look at it and go, who's going to do the least for us as far as
money-wise
eyes on the screens?
Yeah,
you get
sure.
the bye week 1.
What do you reckon about rep round, Timmy?
So good, wasn't it? I look at it as like Magic Round is a celebration of rugby league, and this is a celebration of basically international rugby league to give a few of the smaller nations like the Cook Islands an opportunity to showcase in the middle of the season. I think it's brilliant. I thought it was fantastic seeing that Kiwis-Tonga game. At the end of the game, Tonga pretty well convincingly beaten. Full-time siren went and there's just Tongan flags, sea of red going nuts. It was just like, all right, we lost the test, but it was a one-off game, mid-season, not a huge issue, but just the enjoyment coming out of it, it was wonderful.
Yeah, loved it. Now let's get to the New Zealand-Tonga game. Let's get straight into it. Joey Manu, 401 metres. confirmed too. Like, I haven't seen any changes to the score. It's a record breaking by a substantial margin. I think the last was 370 or something like that. 401 metres at fullback. Joey Manu, is he almost wasted at centre?
Did he break his own record?
No, I think it was Clint Gutherson that had the record before.
Because didn't Manu almost break it earlier this year and then it updated and he went under? Like he's come close to doing this a couple of times now. He's a freak, isn't he?
He's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, it's scary. I think fullback probably is his better position. Would he be able to do this week in, week out over a 25-week season? I don't know, but
like even if he did half of it,
if he did half, it'd still be unreal.
Yeah.
I thought he was great for New Zealand. Him and Hughes, he was just on another level.
Yeah. What do you reckon about Joey Manu? Is centre his best position?
Mate, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but roaming centre, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. And there was another example in this game. That's Jordan Rapana, who's the other bloke who play on the wing for the Raiders at test level. He just goes along and runs his own show. He, coming out of his own half, came out, threw a couple, there was a break, and he supported. And it was just an extra support play that he ended up scoring the try because he had that roaming player. And I know you, in the past, we've spoken about, and you're a little bit sceptical doing it, attacking the line.
Well, it's more. I believe you should only have one. If you've got a fullback that's everywhere, it's really hard to have two running. Like, for example, Teddy. He's always everywhere. If you add Manu, it's almost it might be too much. I'm not saying
holding shapes.
But in saying that, to Guru's point, it's like if you set plays up for it, you prepare yourself for it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the point you made was, just doing it out of your own end even, and Jordan Rapana showed the value of that because the second there was a sniff and they went through, he's there in support. And going back to Manu, I think the Roosters can really utilise that coming out of their own half.
Yeah.
Mate, you'd love to see him at fullback every week, wouldn't you? At the Roosters, it's not going to happen for the time being, but seriously.
So he's 25 this year, I'm pretty sure. Actually, I'm pretty certain, actually.
Jeez.
Is there a way where, Teddy plays another 4 years and then Manu goes to fullback at 29 years old, or is it too late by then?
Well, mate, respectfully to Manu, he's going to be, by the time that time comes, he's going to be battling Suwali for that one jersey.
Yeah, it's true.
Chalks.
I wonder if Suwali is. It'd be interesting to see if he can handle the Ks that a fullback position entails with being such a big body, because he'd probably be the biggest fullback we've ever had. Suwali, if he played fullback.
Boy.
Yeah, especially in 2 or 3 years' time.
Yeah, like tallness wise, he's 6'4", 6'5". He'd be at least one of the biggest fullbacks we've ever had. It'd be interesting to see if his body can handle the Ks at fullback. I mean, look, if there's one genetic freak that could, it is Suwali.
Well, and it sounds like from hearing Brad Fittler, I think, tell Andrew Johns and then him speak on Channel 9 last night, that it sounds like, yes, he's a genetic freak, but he does everything right in his preparation, everything for his body. So it's a scary little combo.
Yeah,
to have.
fucking oath.
It's funny, you said biggest fullback, and I thought, I'll just check him compared to Greg Inglis. I think Greg Inglis might be. Suwali has 5 centimetres on Inglis.
What?
According to this, Inglis is 1.91 and Suwali is 1.96. Right. Unless I'm reading something wrong, but
mate, I'm telling you,
Suwali. Manu's 26 this week.
He's 26. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's 25 right now.
25 right now.
Okay, so technically he's 25.
Yeah, right now he's 25.
Equal 25th.
But is he equal 25th or is he 26? So 26 this year. Amazing stuff. Suwali, he could honestly go down as one of, I don't want to say it. I'm not going to say it. But we're all thinking it. We're all looking. When you watch him play, you're all looking, going, this kid's 18.
Yeah. Well, if you don't want to say it, you can take word for word of what Joey said last night.
Okay, what did Joey say?
Well, Joey essentially said, you are looking at a 10 to 15 year superstar.
Yeah.
Absolute superstar who will be in Origin, will be he's 18 now. Are we willing to bet he makes his Origin debut next year? Is that fair?
Look, I've got an even crazier comment, and we was going to get to it when we got to Australia, and it's just a thought experiment. I don't know if I would go this far. And also, after this game on the weekend, after this game last night, I'm a bit less convinced of it. But is there a world where Mal Meninga just goes, fuck it, and he selects Suwali and Cobbo on the wing?
Oh, I don't know if they'll be the two wingers, but I can see a world where Suwali's in that squad. Anyway, I don't know.
Would you take both Suwali and Cobbo in that squad?
I think you could seriously consider it.
Because, could you imagine them the next 10 years on the sting for Australia?
Well, yeah. And I mean, it's been done before. I remember, 03, 04, they would have taken Luke Rooney and Luke Lewis as 18-year-olds over there. So, I can see a world where they both do get picked. What is it, like a 35-man squad or something?
Yeah.
It'll be big.
Because, like, basically, you got To'o, who I think is still undecided as to whether he'll play Samoa or Australia.
Then if Jerome Luai goes and plays Samoa, I reckon To'o
To'o maybe follow him.
Yeah.
And then you've got Tupou, who obviously will play... Well, not obviously. He most likely will play Tonga
I reckon he will for a World Cup, yeah.
for the World Cup. So you've got Fox, who he's in the New South Wales squad. Me personally, I would have Fox there. I really rate Fox, and I think that he's earned the right to have that spot. But it has proven that, like, no position is safe. Who else right now on form would you have in front of? Let's say Cobbo's game last night is erased. Suaalii and Cobbo, who else would you have in front of them right now?
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have anyone else in front of them if, and whether he does or not, if Stephen Crichton goes, I'm sure they'd maybe look at him as a wing option. You'd probably be looking at a couple of centres in the NRL that you'd shove out to the wing if need be. But
Who would your centres be? Tommy and Tommy won't.
Tommy's
Tommy's
not
not
gonna
back.
be
So you've
there.
got Latrell definitely one.
Trell, and then Burton, Jack. Well, you got Gags and Val. Well, Val, he'll play.
I reckon
for
Val.
Kangaroos.
I reckon Val. Yeah, Val play with Kangaroos. I reckon just Gagai go on one wing then, and Gal goes in the
Yeah,
centres.
Gagai, true.
Probably.
Yeah.
And then maybe Suaalii or Cobbo on the wing, or Fox.
Still, though, regardless, you're still going to carry 8 to 9 outside backs.
Yeah.
So there's still plenty of spots for
Yeah.
a Suaalii and for a Cobbo.
I just don't think it's as outrageous. Like, before I said it, I don't think many people would
When you
probably be
actually
thinking
put the
about
names
it.
down,
Yeah,
yeah.
and you look at, okay, well, To'o might play Samoa. Tupou may play Tonga. Fox, I would pick Fox 100%, but it's, it clearly shows that anyone's position is up for it. I think Suaalii makes the Australian squad. Matter of fact, like, I'd be willing to put money on it that he makes the Australian squad. That's how incredible I think this kid is. And I actually think Selwyn will as well. They'll both make the Australian squad. I just think it'd be an invaluable experience to get those two young guys in right now, whether they play just against the teams that aren't as great and then they just watch and learn. Because if I'm Melbourne Inga, I'm trying to get Selwyn and Suaalii in there to learn off the big dogs, like the Cleary, get Cam Smith in there, Billy Slater, all those guys in camp to, like, help with them. Because I'm sure Mel would have a good relationship with those guys. Speak to me, Timmy. Am I crazy or what?
Yeah, no, when you first said it, I thought, maybe a little bit ambitious starting them. Then when you mentioned To'o, Tupou leaving and playing for Tongas and Samoas and whatnot, if they do go and do that, then they'll nearly definitely be there. And what's more exciting is that even if they don't start game one against an England or whoever it might be, because it's a long campaign, they'll also play for Australia because they'll play against the second-tier nations, your Italy's, your France's, these sort of things. So I think, they'll nearly definitely be there.
Fair shout. What do you reckon, Matty? Too soon or get him in there?
No, they'll definitely be in the squad. I'm 100% with you. I thought about it a lot since you and Cam Smith spoke about it last Thursday. Those two will definitely be in the squad and we'll probably get some game time. I think you're right. I'm agreeing. Let's say Fox and let's say Tupou and To'o are out. I think Fox will be one winger, and then you could probably say either Gagai or one of those two for the other one.
Let's say Tupou and To'o make themselves available for Australia. Do you select Fox on the wing,
I would, yeah.
Timmy?
Oh, geez, we've had this chat a lot of times in the last month or so, haven't we? And I mean, going back to Origin, I've just spruiked about how our back three, played such a massive part in us winning that game. I think Freddie's decision's probably been justified with Tupou over Fox. So if you go into the Australian arena, I don't really see why anything had changed too much. I don't know.
It's a tough one,
starting
eh?
to second guess myself a little
Didn't
bit.
Mal come out and say something the other day that he would have Fox in his?
I don't think he's still in the running equally to other people. I don't think he said that he'd be in the
I
squad.
would definitely have Fox in my squad.
Yeah.
Put it this way, and if they've got, let's say it is a To'o on one wing and Teddy at fullback, there's so much yardage coming out of your end there that I think you can afford to play Fox for his speed and maybe having 50 to 80 less metres out of your own half. So, look, I'd still just have Fox.
I'd also say too, if this situation does play out where a lot of those Penrith boys are playing for the other nations, you might need a personality like Fox.
Yeah, for sure. In the camp, for sure. Now, let's get back to the Kiwis. I'm going to say it, boys. I'm going to say it. I think this is one of the best Kiwi squads I have personally ever seen assembled. Now, I know 2013, pretty sure it's 2013, they had a really good, strong squad. I think Sonny Bill had come back. It was Foran, Johnson. I think this would just pip them. Look, as equal. Look, I'll just say equal. I think this is equally as good as any Kiwi squad that we've ever seen assemble. And I would even make the argument that you could argue on paper they are as good as Australia. Maybe not better. I would say that if they have a little bit of an edge in the forward pack, I would say Queensland have the edge. Not Queensland. Australia have the edge in the back line. But this New Zealand squad, as an Australian, absolutely concerns me, and absolutely on paper, I would see the game as a 50-50 game. Let's say there was a grand final tomorrow, World Cup final, and this squad and the Australian squad were lining up. I would be on the fence as to who I thought was going to win. Obviously, I would hope Australia, blah, blah, blah. That's how good I think this Kiwi squad is. Jerome Hughes has proven, without a doubt, it is not just the Storm system that makes him great. It's not the great players around him. He is an out-and-out game breaker. He's an out-and-out game team leader. And he's also becoming a player that you can build a club around. I really believe he's become that player. For him to play the way he did on the for New Zealand, the first time, we have to remember, the last time he played for New Zealand, he was a fullback and he came off the bench for his debut. It was 2019. Fast forward a couple of years, he is now the key playmaker. And I haven't seen New Zealand look this smooth and not clunky. And everyone had their assignments. They completed their first 5 sets. Matter of fact, I think they completed their first 9 from 10. I haven't seen a Kiwi side do that in so long. I think they look like a totally different beast. And I think Australia and Tonga and all the other teams should be very, very worried about this New Zealand side.
I personally think this New Zealand spine, there have been better players that have played in the spine in the past, but I think these 4 together, they're the most informed spine we've ever seen for New Zealand. Joey Manu, who, based on his performances at fullback, you can argue he's a top 5 fullback in the NRL.
Yeah.
Dylan Brown is absolutely killing it this year for Parramatta. Jerome Hughes, spoken enough about him. He's the second best halfback in rugby league. And then you got the Dally M hooker from last year, Brandon Smith in the 9. Quite often you see these New Zealand teams, when they are challenging the Kangaroos over the years, there's been guys that are in their spine that, you wouldn't even consider them when it comes to the Kangaroos. But all these guys you would seriously consider. And there's there's no Nigel Vunganar they're chucking in at 6.
Yep.
There's no Nathan Fiend that gets plucked to play hooker. They are out and out in their position.
Yep.
And absolute weapons. And then you look at the rest of the team, the rest of the side is all picked in position. You could argue Niokore is the only one, but when he plays centre in the NRL, he kills it.
He kills it. Now, and is there a Kiwi centre that's injured?
Thinking that is there.
Is Tomoko, was he available for selection? Is he a Kiwi or is he Samoan? Apologies if I got that wrong. Tomoko, apologies.
I'm not sure on Tomoko.
Kiwi. Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Regardless, I think it was a masterstroke by match. It just added that defensive strength that they needed outside on the centre. He's a great defensive centre. And sometimes speed-wise he can struggle a little bit, but physically he's great. He may not have the silkiest hands, but he offers just that physicality out there he offers. Wayne Bennett was always really good at picking balanced backlines. And what I mean by that is, on one side he would have your Hodjo that could just break a game apart. But on the other side, he might have your Mick DeVere or your Brent Tate or even your Sean Berrigan, these guys that are really good defensive, make minimal errors. And I think Madge is selected. A lot of people thought Tamate Martin should have been selected at fullback. I think Joey Martin moving from centre to fullback was a masterstroke. I really like what I see with this Kiwi. Mulatalo, also fantastic. Dylan Brown, 2 try assists, silky as anything. That ball over the top in greasy conditions. He is something special. 27 tackles, 0 misses. I mean, he's something. What do you think about this New Zealand side, Timmy?
I'm thinking out loud here, but on the Niokore centre selection, I wonder, are they looking ahead to the World Cup and going, Latrell Mitchell, we need a big body to defend him, to shut him down, possibly there. And just what Guru touched on with the spine, that's the halves of Jerome Hughes and Dylan Brown are so exciting. Some of those passes Dylan Brown threw would just second to none. I think there's one from Mulatalo there, the big floater over the top was brilliant. Joey Manu, what excites me about Joey Manu is that he's so untapped at fullback. He's played a handful of games at fullback over his career. He's slotting in, and he's such a different fullback to what we've seen in that it's just running, just being on ball all game and sticking an opportunity. So I think there's a lot of potential in it. And yes, at the end of the year, the other exciting thing about these, particularly the Pacific Island teams, your Kiwi side there, they've never gone well in one-off tests. So, like, people looking at Tonga there and going, oh, we're beaten by 20 points, a bit of a worry. Give them a whole World Cup campaign to build into it, as we mentioned earlier. It's exciting. The Kiwis in the Anzac Test, they never used to win them, the one-off test, but when they'd get to World Cup campaigns, they were right in our grills. So it's going to be something special.
Super interesting. Like, when you actually look at this Kiwi squad, you've got Jesse Bromwich at the front row, who is like been the premier front row for so long. But then you've got Leota and Fisher Harris. They are the reigning premiers front row. Jesse Bromwich, he's won 2 or 3 premierships. Then you've got Hughes, won a premiership. Manu, won a premiership. Cheese, won a premiership. We are talking about top tier players not being moved into a position to play. That's where they play. Like, when you look at a guy like Dylan Brown versus Munster, for example, Munster obviously is in form, but I wouldn't say Brown's form is that much below Munster's. That's how good Brown's been this year. Then you look at Hughes, Cleary. Hughes, again, is he that much below Cleary? Absolutely not. Then you've got Manu Tedesco. Is he that much less than Tedesco? Absolutely not, in my opinion. Like, we are looking at a team here that on paper could genuinely be better. You know, you could argue. I still back Australia, but you could argue. Like, you've got Tarpanet playing at 13, 162 metres, 36 tackles. Over this year, especially last month, he's been the best front rower in the competition. You've got Isaiah Papali'i, who's been the best wide running forward all year long. It's the most balanced Kiwi side I've ever seen. Then you've got Nelson coming off the bench. It's incredible.
Just some names that they didn't have on the weekend that they could have come World Cup time. Chance wasn't in the side.
Yep.
Remus Smith is still injured. Rhea Hargraves didn't play.
Remus Smith will probably get selected, I'd say.
Say he will. Yep. Rhea Hargraves didn't play. Hamlin Uele is injured. He was killing it for Cronulla at the start of the year.
Holy.
Who else? Was someone like Harawira Naira? Like, if when he's in that side, he could be anything as well. There's Tohu Harris. He didn't play on the weekend. I'm not sure what the go is.
And you know what else who I'm happy for is like Michael Maguire.
Yeah.
He gets an opportunity to get a squad that's fucking top tier. Imagine if he goes and wins this World Cup. All of a sudden, his coaching credentials are back because you go, maybe it was the Tigers environment that he was in, and he takes this, like, he's had a big hand in this because he's been the Kiwis coach for the last few years. He's helped develop these guys and been very loyal and passionate about his role. What do you got there, Matty?
2 things. Harris came out and said because he just come back from ACL, he just wanted to focus on the Warriors.
Yep.
But on Tomoko, I've done some digging. He was born and raised and grew up in New Zealand, Auckland, and he actually played for New Zealand Maoris under 18s, and they played teams like Tonga, Samoa, etc. So it doesn't specifically say, but I think he'd be New Zealand eligible. He'd be definitely New Zealand eligible, yeah.
I mean, he's fucking not bad to have to bring in, like, in a World Cup squad.
Yeah.
See how he goes. Could be anything.
The other name that we haven't even mentioned, who he hasn't been playing great recently, but when they get back home, Sean Johnson. Back end of the year, if he finds form now,
bring him into the squad. Hopefully, I really hope he does. Remember, like, probably would have been like a month and a half ago, I said I was a bit worried about just his happiness.
Yep.
I am really worried about his happiness right now. All I want for Sean Johnson is to get back to his family and spend some time with him because I understand people having negative comments about him because he's a professional athlete. He's on good coin. But boy, it's got to be tough sometimes when you're away from your family, you're struggling, you're trying your best. It's not through lack of effort. He does try. I really can hope he can just find some solid form by the end of the year, get back on the horse, because I would hate to see this to be the last year or two of his career. He's still got so much to give, I think. I just think the Warriors right now are in such a tough spot. But anyway, what were you going to say, Matty? You going to say something? Sorry, Timmy?
I wasn't, but I can find something.
Okay. No, I thought you were going to say something. So, yeah, look, this Kiwi side, I also thought it was a really good opportunity for Brandon Smith to remind every motherfucker when he gets to play hooker and stay in hooker, he is world class. I thought his connection with Jerome Hughes was outstanding. Yeah, look, really, really good. I mean, Kiwis, get excited. I genuinely believe on paper against Australia, this is a 50-50 battle. Like, this is, since I've been like watching footy, this is the closest time I've felt where going into a World Cup where I don't have Australia as, out and out favourites. Because I just don't know. I need to see them play together. Whereas this Kiwi side, it wasn't just the way they won. Sorry, it wasn't just the fact they won. It was the way they did it. They were in control the whole time. They had structure. They had systems in place. They made minimal errors. Like the completion rate was... It dropped off a bit towards the end, but the first half completion rate, it was like 90%. So if they can do that for 2 halves. Now, on to Tonga. What do you guys think of? Look, we spoke about it before the game. Unfortunately, they didn't have halves that are genuine halves, and I think that really hurt them. And look, Staggs had a red-hot crack. Amon, you know, he had some moments that were brilliant, some really good moments where he made some really, really good pass selection. But I think he's a 6, and I think Tonga are really in desperate need of finding a high-quality 7 that can lead them around. What do you reckon, Timmy?
You're spot on. And it's been the concern for years with Tonga, even past World Cup, where they were so great there and became, like, put in a terrific campaign, but it's just always been the halves with them. And so you've already said it, a game-managing halfback to get this star-studded roster around the park.
Yeah.
Like, that team list they threw out, if you throw, like, one of the top 5...
Put Hughes in 7.
You swap the halfbacks.
Yeah, if you swap the halfbacks, it just changes the complexion of that game and that team so significantly. So I don't know if there's anyone where that's going to come from between now and the World Cup, and that's what worries me. But, you know, you can alter game plans around having sort of 2 5/8s in the halves, which we've spoken about that we're not fans of, but you can bring sort of Taumalo now that we've seen how good a link man he can be, bringing that into their game a little bit more to take a bit of pressure off them. But that side can go so deep into a World Cup. I just don't know if they've got the half back to get them past a Kiwis or an Australia in a big game. But the fact that we're having this conversation about them competing with those sides is so exciting.
Yeah, so exciting. What do you reckon, Guru?
Yeah, I think that Amon, obviously, he was the halfback in this one. It was a tough gig. I think as well, you know, he's so young, but he comes from a system with the most ball-dominant halfback probably in the comp, Ben Hunt.
Right up there.
It's a really tough transition for him. They have got young Isaiah Katoa in their squad. I was sort of hoping that Staggs would get picked for Origin so that we'd see him come into this side.
Is he a 6 or a 7 though?
He's a 7.
Okay.
But he's only played SG ball. That's
Okay.
the thing.
So, yeah,
and
okay.
realistically, because he's going to the Dolphins at the end of this season, Penrith aren't going to play him.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get...
If you're Tonga, do you risk it and just go, you know what, let's chuck him in next, whatever game we play next? Like, for example...
Is their next game World
for
Cup?
the World Cup. Well, that's what I was about to say is, do you think that they missed a trick by going... Look, it's easy in hindsight for us to say, because I'm sure going in with this, we all thought that it would be competitive, and it was competitive at stages. But do you think they missed a trick in going, you know what, let's put this young guy in at 7 and just see if he can handle it, because he's a genuine 7?
I would have at least carried him on the bench.
Yeah,
personally.
and just put him on for
just
20
put
minutes.
him on just to give him a go.
And do you think so Tonga maybe made a mistake of like worrying too much about this game instead of preparing for the World Cup?
Potentially, but I mean, if we were sitting here
Easy
and
to say,
Tonga had won the game,
I'm saying, yeah.
it's completely different.
I think it's got to be a bridge too far, doesn't it? Just say he's only been SG ball. To throw him SG ball, despite his style of play being exactly what Tonga need, to go SG ball.
Oh,
to
yeah, it's
international
mental.
Kiwis, I just that could break the poor kid for the rest of his career. Like,
I think I agree with you, Guru. It's like Guru, chucking him on the bench and just put him on for 10 to 20 minutes just to see what he's like. I agree with you. It's too far to go chuck him in at 7, but that's how strongly I feel about their 7 position, of how much they need a proper 7. You know, Amon is a 6 in my opinion. Staggs, he's a centre in my opinion. Now I know they beat Australia with Staggs playing 6 a while back, but it's, you know, to do that week in, week out when you're not doing that at club, it is a very hard ask to expect Staggs to just come in and be able to kick and all that kind of stuff. Plus, I think that, you know, Tonga did ambush a few nations in that tournament. I think countries are ready for Tonga now, and they're expecting a high quality performance.
They did, obviously, in that last time they beat the Kangaroos, they had Lolohea, who was playing halfback. So I think he will be the 7 come. But I think he's just a slightly better half version of Staggs, realistically.
It's interesting. I will say I was super surprised. Ola Kawatu. What's going on with that? What is, like, do they like not watch Manly games?
he came on in the 53rd minute.
What's going on there? He would have been starting for me. He would have been starting, and I would have been saying, mate, go as long as you can. Look, Keon and Satili, they're beasts, like beast. But I'd have to say this year, Ola Kawatu has been the standout back rower. I mean, maybe I'm focusing too much on his really good games, and maybe there's games where he's a bit quiet. I don't know. I could obviously open to being wrong, but at the very least, get him on after 20, 30 minutes. Put him in the middle, front row.
Yeah, and this is what I didn't understand about the way. And we mentioned, obviously, they could have had Katoa on the bench. They played Havili for 49 minutes. They played Sonny Luke for 44.
Yeah.
So they used Havili as a middle for minutes instead of just having Olakau'atu out there. I mean, Totola only played 35 minutes. It's just Mo Fotuaika, who was an Origin prop last year, he played 40 minutes. Like I don't know. It just didn't quite make sense to me the way that they used their team, and I think they could have been a little bit smarter looking further down the track as well.
Yeah, the Olakau'atu one was surprising. Like, he's so damaging. You can chuck him on in the middle. To use Havili in the middle instead of a guy like, Olakau'atu, very, very surprising. Very surprising. I will say the positive for Tonga, though, when you look at this forward pack, holy shit. Like, that is a crazy forward pack.
Joe was 18th man. That's how good they're going.
Yeah.
Who, sorry?
Joe Offengawi.
Yeah, 18th man. Yeah. So, yeah, look, I just think with the Tongan side, they've just got to commit to, we're just playing power footy. Like, we have to get our outside backs in there, scooting through the middle, forwards just hitting in behind the ruck, and just try to play, like, off the back of offloads. I would almost try, and I know it's hard to compare it to the Eels because they've got Mitchell Moses and Dylan Brown, but I would almost try and play similar to the power game when Eels get that real power game where they're just going through the middle constantly. Again, it's easy because they got Moses to direct them. But if Tonga can find a way to play a different style of footy, with the team they've got right now, I just can't see, if they play the way like Australia or New Zealand do, I can't see them playing. You're not going to play better than Australia and New Zealand like the way because of the team they have. But if they can play a unique style of footy that suits their forward pack, I think that's where they could really worry teams. A lot of offloads, a lot of second phase footy.
Olakau'atu touched the ball 5 times.
Yeah, it's crazy. Really, really surprising, man. Really surprising. Was there any standouts for you? I thought Christian Tuipulotu, I thought he was outstanding again. He continues to impress me. He diffused a few kicks. He made some good reads in defence. 163 metres. He ran for the most metres of any player on the field. Christian Tuipulotu, for me, is probably one of the most underappreciated rookies in the game right now. Because this is his rookie year, isn't it? If it's not, he hasn't played many games.
Yeah, he came from the Roosters or the Tigers or something.
Yeah, Roosters, but he only played like one game.
One game.
Yeah.
So essentially rookie year. For me, he's the most underappreciated rookie in the game. Like, Kohler is super exciting and he's going to be an amazing star. But I actually think Tuipulotu's been the rookie there that's played week in, week out great footy. Will Benzini, I thought he was really good in defence, made 29 tackles. Sully, again, getting through a bunch of work. Far out, he's consistent.
Yep.
I love how consistent of a footy player he's becoming. Matter of fact, all year, you struggle to find a game where you would say Sully has played poorly, which is, something that you don't expect from guys this explosive and this good. Usually it's like one good game here, and then the next game, they wait for the ball to come to them and nothing happens. Whereas Sully has matured into a player that goes looking for the game. I thought he was really good. Outside of that, obviously Tokiaho, Fanua Blake, I thought they were solid, but I just think New Zealand were just outplayed them. Yeah,
you just got to accept this New Zealand side. They're the real deal.
They're the real deal. It would almost be like Tonga playing Australia and Australia playing really well.
Yep.
So the good thing for Tonga, though, is they still have an incredible squad. Like, if they just got to sort that spine out a little bit, and then I think that they'll be fine. They really will take it to the top tier nations. Anything else to say about that game?
All good.
All good. Now, next game, we had Samoa versus Cook Islands. Now, I know Samoa ended up running away with it, but I thought Cook Islands were extremely brave. The concern for me with Samoa, and it's going to sound really negative, is that it wasn't really an 80-minute performance, and I worry that if they do that against even, a Tonga, definitely against New Zealand or Australia, they're going to struggle. But the positive is I thought, Milf looked like he really was controlling that side, and it helped him a lot to have that key man controlling. Is he a 7? He's probably not a 7 in my opinion, but is he good enough to be a 7 for what Samoa need? Yeah, I do think he has the skill set to do that. Outside of that, Taylor May and Isaac Tungor, fuck. They are an absolute menace to society. Seriously. They are they're unstoppable. Everyone they play, No one has been able to stop them. Every game they play against whoever it is, it's bottom of the table, top of the table, May and Tonga affect the game in a big way. 6 tackle breaks for May, 9 tackle breaks for Tonga, 218 metres for Tonga, 136 metres for May. These guys are 3 line breaks for Taylor and May. Incredible. They may go down. They may actually, right now, they may be the most damaging outside back duo in the comp. Like, who else would be more damaging than Tonga or May?
Yeah, I think it's a fair argument.
And they're both rookies.
Yeah.
Like, in their rookie year, essentially. Like, May's definitely. Tonga played, 4 or 5 games last year? Amazing stuff. And what's crazy is we're going to get to another game, but another Penrith Panther, young fullback, killed it in the Fiji game. What do you guys think about the Samoa game?
Yeah, I actually agree with what you said. I think this Samoa, a big win, and well done to them. But I just felt like I think they took 3 intercepts to score off, and I think another 2 tries came from plays that Josh Schuster was just allowed to do whatever he wanted to do. If they were playing New Zealand or Australia, though, I don't think you'd be able to come up with those sort of plays.
But I agree, but still was amazing to see. Yeah. Like, to see that move like that.
Play when he got it on the left edge and he just ran across the line and everyone just stood and watched him. Like, that was just freaky. Then he went through and he probably could have drawn past, but he went for the kick. He loves it. He absolutely loves it, the Schuster.
Mate, the talent Schuster has, he truly can be anything he wants to be.
Yeah.
He just needs to make sure that he mixes in the 1%ers with the big plays.
Yeah.
Because his talent it knows no bounds. Like, he truly has everything you need to be an incredible footy player. He's an amazing footy player. He just needs to just rein in the no-lookers a bit.
He reminded me the other night, like you're on a PlayStation game, and as soon as you get through the line, you just kick over the fullback, and it's just a foot race to try and get there. I think he did it twice. Taylor May scored 1, and Knopf scored the other one. But yeah, I put him and Lomax are sort of in a similar part to their careers. I think right now they've got these incredible highlights in them, but I think they've just got to level it out a little bit.
Imagine how good Schuster's going to be when the first 5 runs he does are just straight and hard.
Yeah.
Imagine the damage he's going to do to defenders, because he is big and strong as fuck, good footwork.
And I think he is similar, like I look at Junior Bolo last night. I mean, as soon as he puts his pass away and he just goes forward, that's when your skill set becomes more damaging all of a sudden, because teams aren't waiting for you to pass.
Yeah.
They're waiting for you to run over the top of them, and then you can bring that into your game. So, yeah, he's something else.
So
a good little
watch.
message to Manly, obviously. Andrew Davies braining it on the left edge for them, and he's hard to take out of this side. But Schuster, Manly have to find a way to get him on the park more.
Seriously, like, his change of pace for a big fella, where he's basically walking, then hits the goosey and he's away. Amazing. What do you think, Timmy, about the Schuster in the game?
Yeah, it was Schuster for me as well, but what he did off the park as much as on it. How's the start of that when they're doing the anthems and Schuster's like just blaring it out in tears, the emotion coming out of him. It was so special.
So a bit of a backstory for that. Unfortunately, this season, with the Manly, or was it last season, sorry?
Last season.
What was his name, sorry?
Keith Titmus.
Keith Titmus. He was actually a good friend with Josh Schuster, and I'm pretty sure he was Samoan or had Samoan heritage.
Yep.
And so they had, I'm pretty sure I read this week that they had dreamed of playing together for Samoa. So he was remembering his good mate that died of in a training accident.
Yeah.
Wasn't even a training accident. He just, unfortunately.
Just happened to be at training.
Yeah, happened to be at training. And so he's sitting there thinking about his really close mate. And actually, I spoke to Schuster and Saab around that time, and they were really hurt. Like, they were rattled, as you would be, but they were rattled with that because they were obviously close mates to him. So for him to achieve that, such a special moment for Schuster. But it was a beautiful moment to see him care that much.
And just another representation of just why we need the rep round and why it's so important to the game. Just as I said, there's a bit of a backstory to that, but just the emotion on the players in that lineup.
Well, Brandon Smith in New Zealand.
Yeah,
same situation.
Incredible.
He was crying. He had tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
Who else stood out for you on the Samoa side? Are you concerned with the 80-minute? Didn't look as solid as they could be.
I am, but I'm really big on the fact that these nations building into campaigns, and I think it'll do them a world of good having an entire tournament to come good and get that 80 minutes. Really hard to go in there with a new bunch of blokes that you've never played with in a one-off test.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly even in a game against Cook Islands where they were going in as heavy favourites, expected to win, get out to a bit of a lead, and it's tough to put 80 minutes together.
Yeah, for sure. I can see that.
While there's obviously criticisms about them going the distance, I think they can. Hopefully, they can build towards it in the back end of a World Cup campaign.
Well, I will say this in Samoa's defence. I actually think they looked as good as Tonga did on the weekend. And I actually think I probably prefer Milford Harris in the 6 and 7 than I do Staggs.
For sure.
And so that's where I think, okay, maybe Tonga's forward pack is a little bit better, but the Samoan side, they have Anthony Milford and Harris DeVita. That could be their ace up their sleeve. Yeah. And, you could look at the Taylor May as Isaac Tungor, like, it's pretty fucking good outside backs to have on your side. Nofualuma running for 200 plus metres. Look, from a Samoa's perspective, I think the positive is A, they put on a bunch of points, but B, I think that their goal should be, obviously it is to win the World Cup. There's no denying, like they have the squad to really take it to anyone. Like when you look at that squad, that is an elite level squad, and on their day could take it to anyone. But I think like internally, maybe their second goal should be to be finished better than Tonga. Because then they can get that confidence of like, look, if Tonga can beat Australia a couple of years ago, and we can beat these guys in a World Cup, and I know there's a massive rivalry between Tonga and Samoa that's much deeper than rugby league, but I think that's a massive win for them, is to really to try to beat Tonga and get that confidence in their side.
And you mentioned like they obviously had Anthony Milford, Chanel Harris Tavita. They could have Jerome Luai.
Yeah.
By then too. They've also got
To'o.
And To'o, yeah. They've also got, like, as far as halves go, they've also got Ronald Volkman. He was in their extended side, so give him another 12 weeks of first grade. And
imagine their back line, Taylor May, Isaac Tungor, To'o, and Nofualuma. Fuck me. Talk about meters.
And just the combinations of, man, if they got Luai in there as well.
Oh, yeah. Now, Crichton. So they could actually have the Panthers. They could have Luai, Crichton.
I think you'd play Crichton at fullback if you're able to get your paws on him.
Staines is pretty good. You reckon?
Playing Crichton at fullback for me, anyway.
And what you keep? Who do you put in centre? You put Nofualuma in centre or
I
Paulo?
Guess you could maybe you need to play Critter in the centres actually.
Because like if you put him in centres, you've got the Panthers back line. You've got To'o, Crichton, and then Staines at fullback. And Staines, I thought Staines is good. And all of a sudden, you know what? Fuck.
18th man is too. Our boy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a gun. Fuck, I like him. He's so quick. I tell you what, if they can get Luai in this side and they get Milford to just be real structured and then create space for Luai, they can get To'o, they can get Critter. Mate, they could be a smoky, man. They could be a real smoky if they get a bit of passion and a bit of a roll on, like the same thing that happened with Tonga a few years ago.
Couldn't they also get Junior Bolo as well?
Yeah, he's eligible.
Yeah.
I think although he's very proud of his heritage, and I can't speak for him, just to be clear, I think that he probably will select Australia first. Yeah. Again, very proud of his heritage, but I think he's also proud to be Australian as well. But I can't speak for him. That's just my assumption. I thought Martin Tapau was outstanding. I thought he was outstanding in the middle there. Very aggressive, got a bunch of metres, nearly 200 metres. So, look, now that we put that all into perspective, to think that they could have Luai, To'o, Critter all play for their side, it could be something special, actually.
And if they can somehow, if they do manage to pull Junior, they could pull Tino as well.
Ooh.
Well, all 4 Origin props in game 1
A Samoan.
were Samoan. Yeah.
Far out. I wonder if Papali'i doesn't make the Australian front row and they go with Payne Haas. Well, Payne Haas is Samoan too.
Yeah, so.
And Filipino.
Kangaroos could find themselves in trouble very quickly if everyone decides to, which, I mean, it wouldn't shock me. These World Cups, they don't come along
I honestly,
that often.
I obviously want Australia to win, but I actually wouldn't mind to see that controversy.
I want everyone to go and play for Fiji and Tonga,
because it would create so much controversy, because Australians would be like, you turned your back on us, and then Samoans would be like, fuck you. It'd be great stuff. And I'd be like, cool, let's go. Let's see who's the best team.
I'll tell you who else might be a little bit nervous. The English side. Last time I saw them play was against New Zealand, and they really battled. So
honestly,
all these teams getting stronger.
I honestly, right now, for me, it goes Australia, New Zealand, I can't split them. It goes Tonga and Samoa, can't split them. And then it goes England for me. Like, that's how further down I've kind of, we haven't got a good sample size. But really interesting times. Look, exciting times for Samoa. And there have been a few people in the comments section saying people are sleeping on Samoa with the people that they could get back. Wow. That's.
I think with Samoa, it's more about working out off field. There's reportedly a lot of dramas there with coaching and whatnot, and guys not wanting to
I
go back
think
there
that's locked in, sorted now.
It is all done.
It's all like a decision has been made that they're sticking with the coach from, is it Matt
Parrish
or something like that? The decision has been made that they're going to go with him. So that's all sorted. So interesting, really interesting. Cannot wait. Now, Cook Islands. Look, I thought they were really brave, really brave. Unfortunately, they just don't have many full-time players.
Yep.
But there were some moments there where they really stuck it to them.
I thought the young bloke came off the bench. He's in the Rabbitoh system, David Mwali. He was really strong when he came on.
Yep.
He ran for 90 metres. I think 50 of them
And
were
didn't
post-contact.
he turned down to play for New South Wales under-19s to play for the Cook Islands, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what the commentator said anyway.
He was picked in the team.
In the under-19s.
he was one of the guys they announced.
Because I made the graphic and he was the photo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he was good off the bench. So, look, really, really exciting times for Samoa. PNG versus Fiji. Look, I thought Lockie Lamb would be the difference, and was he the difference? Holy shit, he played well. Olam was outstanding. PNG looked pretty good. Like they looked like with a Laybutt and Lamb in the 6 and 7. I thought that they withstood a lot of pressure from Fiji. I think like back in the day, PNG, they may have like let a few tries kind of sneak in, and then all of a sudden the game has moved away from them. I thought they were great. They looked the most in connection with each other when it comes to like structures and systems that I've seen in quite a while. What did you guys think of this Fiji side?
I'm
PNG
constantly surprised that Lamb isn't in more conversations with more teams. He can play 9, he can play 6, he can play 7. He's a guy that I think at the end of this World Cup, I think a few more teams will sit up and take more notice of. Kyle Laybutt, he's been in the Queensland Cup for a number of years, played for the Cowboys a few years ago. I think he's played 2 games, probably 3 or 4 years ago, but he just keeps hanging in there. His defence was incredible. That was like Dylan Brown-like by Laybutt the other night. So yeah, he's a guy that's been in this PNG team for quite some time. He always does a job for them, and I'm sure he'll be a key part of their World Cup campaign.
Timmy, what do you think?
Yeah, I just think it's the investment into PNG Rugby League through the PNG Hunters in the Queensland Cup is there's signs that it's working, that they've come up and knocked off a nation like Fiji, who maybe they're a little bit under strength for the clash, but nonetheless, 5-10 years ago, I think this would have been seen as a big upset. Now it's just like, no, you know what, the Hunters, what they're doing in Queensland Cup, the success they're having, and then now it's showing on the international stage, and I think it's only the early stage of it. It's going to get better and better and better for them.
Yep.
And even just things like, because a lot of people are playing together at Queensland Cup level week in, week out, the cohesion in the side and the combinations they've got, even with new faces coming in from across the NRL in different areas, it's just another sign that it's paying off that development.
Yeah,
that
for sure. And look, if they can keep Lamb and Laybutt together for a while, you're just building a really good connection that, because they seem to really synergise and work well with each other. Look, great, really exciting times for PNG. Again, you got a good 7, you got a good 6, and I think Lockie Lamb is good enough to be an out-and-out 7 as well. Like he's learning really well at the Roosters, and also when he does play with the Roosters, I know he's moved away from the Roosters. He's in Super League at the moment, I think.
No, I think he's still in the Roosters. His dad's coaching
Lamb's
in
at the
Super
Roosters
League.
still.
Is he?
Yeah, his dad's coaching.
Did he sign with the Super League side?
It was definitely linked. Have a look.
Yeah, can you just check that for me, please? But anyway, any time I have seen him play for the Roosters, I don't think he's ever played bad or poorly.
No.
He's been solid as anything. So look, if Lachlan Lamb can be that 7 for a while, PNG can build something pretty special around him. Because they got the
Tonga
talent.
had a Lamb, like that'd make a big difference.
Oh, massive difference for sure. But yeah, Olam was outstanding. 155 metres, 6 tackle breaks, a line break, 16 tackles, 2 try assists as a centre. How good's that? Obviously, Lamb scoring 2 tries, a try assist, 18 tackles, only 1 miss. But I thought off the bench, Yee, is that how you say it? Yee? Mackenzie Yee. He had 11 runs, 118 metres, 8 tackle breaks, 11 tackles, 0 misses. I mean, guys like that, you have to look at and say, look, if he had the same opportunity as everyone else, maybe he could grow into something special. I wonder if he's signed with another club.
I thought that back rower, Nixon Putt, he did well.
Yeah.
Yeah, 12 runs for 140 metres, 60 post contact. The lock was good. Alick, 165 metres. So there was some talent in this side.
Lamb was linked with Lee Centurions in the off-season, but his dad said no to that. So he's
still the Roosters?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting to see what clubs will look at him and see if they could create something around there. I mean, look, if he did go to Super League, he would absolutely kill it. So great win by PNG. Fiji, what do we think, fellas? I guess that they were probably the most disappointing out of the lot, unfortunately. I think they put together some really good footy, but I don't think they expected PNG to hold up as well as they did. I will say it was interesting, Kevin Nangama at 6. He's experienced, obviously. Massima at 7. I probably would say that they maybe need a more structured 7 to help lead, to help Massima around and then put Kevin Nangama back into the centres maybe.
The coach said that Nangama only played 6 because Brandon Wakeham couldn't play.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. They would have made, okay, that makes sense. Sivo, he had a massive game, 233 metres, 96 post contact, 6 tackle breaks. Again, Ravalawa on the other wing, 191 metres. But Turava, apologies for getting that wrong, Turava. Fullback for Fiji, probably their man of the match. If it wasn't Lockie Lamb, it was Turava. Now, he's actually in development at Penrith. I think he's in the top squad now, but 252 metres, 97 post contact, 7 tackle breaks, and 2 tries in a losing side. Absolutely massive knock from Turava. What do you think about the Fijian side?
Yeah, I thought they were very impressive. The fullback, sorry, I didn't think they were overly impressive in this game. Sorry, got distracted there. I expected them to win this game, to be honest with you. I thought they would run it out. When you have a look at that back line, it's essentially all NRL players minus the fullback, who might be the best player to not play NRL.
One of the best young fellas at the moment.
For sure. And
he's top 30 next year.
Top 30 next year, so he's not even top. Wow, interesting.
But if you go back now and you have a look at start of the season when I was talking about all those highlights you can watch of Isaac Tungo and Taylor May, if you go back and watch them now, this is the other guy you'll notice in all those highlights. So he's been playing at a high click for Penrith for quite some time, which is crazy because he's behind Dylan Edwards, he's behind Stephen Crichton, he's probably behind Charlie Staines potentially, and they let go of Dane Laurie.
Yeah.
Their system's incredible. But I thought he was very impressive. He was the shining light in this team. We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I thought Tane Milne in the 13.
Yeah.
I thought he had a real crack.
I think that's his position, man, in the forwards.
Well, mate, he's always been a back rower. He sort of got shoved out in the centres and the wing whenever he's played first grade. But when he plays reserve grade, when he's more comfortable in sides, he's always sort of been a second row or a 13. I thought he was really strong. He's just a menace, isn't he?
Yep. Just like explosive. He almost like suits the new game because he's not too big, but he's got a lot of pace around the ruck. He's a nuggety kind of build, so he's very hard in contact. Yeah, I thought he was great in the middle there. Kamakamitha, he was really good in the middle, 192 metres. I think Fiji were disappointed because they put themselves in a position to win that game, or at least, be really, really tight. But they just couldn't get that final blow. What did you think about the Fijian side?
Yeah, I love some of the side stories that come with sides like Fiji this time of year, particularly in the one-off tests, where Mike Acevo a couple of years ago, sort of semi-famously, I suppose, within the NRL community, getting poached from Fiji to come play for the Gundagai Tigers down in Group 9, took them to a premiership and was just an absolute star, and the rest is history with what Sevo's done now. This time around, not saying he's in the Sevo mould, but Ralulu Nasoki, it is, currently playing for the Bombala Blue Healers, which is down my way in the Group 16 area. Bombala, over the years, have poached a lot of Fijian talent to come play in the competition. So he's playing currently in Group 16 in the Snowy Mountains area, basically. And then 2 weeks later, he's playing an international for his country.
Far out.
So he came off the bench for them.
Yep.
Yarns like that out of these international games, I think, are so enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. And it also, it shines a light on, you think you love the game, and then you hear these stories of these blokes, they love the game. They do it for free. They work in whilst trying to make it. Yeah, I love those stories too. Is anyone that stood out for you in the Fijian side?
I think you touched on it with Taruva, however you pronounce it. Yeah, a couple of tries, 250 metres. It's just funny. So many of the players we've mentioned tonight, whether it be 19s or the international blokes getting their opportunities, Melbourne Storm systems, Penrith Panthers systems, whether they've developed them or their scouts have found them and brought them up there. Just the fact that he's coming out of Penrith, you mentioned before, but it'll be interesting to see where he gets his opportunity at Penrith, because the options are so limited. So whether he ends up at another club to get a start or how it'll work, I'm not sure, but big future ahead.
Yeah.
I think he's just signed a 2-year deal.
Yeah, okay.
I could be wrong, but I think he has, yeah.
Yeah, what a pickup by Penrith. What a pickup early, especially before this game, because I'm sure a few clubs would be interested after this. Also, shout out to the hooker for Fiji. I'm going to butcher this name, apologies, but Tagatumua. Anyway, the number 9 for Fiji, he made 60 tackles and only missed 2.
Wow.
60 tackles and only missed 2. What an absolute effort. So look, again, I think there's a lot of good things to take out of this game from Fiji. There was some really good performance when it comes to the ball running. It's just a little bit of their structure. I think Wakeham will really help with that. He was really good a few years ago for them. That's actually where he kind of put his name on the map. He played really well for Fiji. So yeah, anyway, that is us done and dusted. Anything to announce, boys?
Yeah, we got beers and break evens. We're back on Wednesday, so about Wednesday lunchtime that'll be coming out. Supercoach run home, getting very exciting.
Well, anything, Timmy?
Yeah, mate, SC Playbook back this week after a little rep round spell into their Supercoach weekend ahead, so all back and fired up from today.
Also, I will be out the front of Suncorp, Game 3 with the NRL. We'll be giving away prizes. You can come on live. I'll interview you live on the NRL TikTok, so thousands of people will be watching. Make sure to get there. So that's outside Suncorp Stadium between 6 and 7 p.m. I will be there, and most likely another NRL player will be there as well, giving away prizes, interviewing people, all that good stuff, and obviously stop and say hi and have a yarn. Grab a case of Bloke in a Bar. Go to our store. We've got our store locator on there. You can actually tick a MIDI or lager, and if you tick MIDI, it'll show you where all our MIDI is. You just put in your postcode, or you tick lager, it will show you where all lager is. Our lager is now in every single Celebrations, Bottle-O, Porter's Liquor, and IJ Plus Liquor in New South Wales and ACT. Plus, our Bloke MIDI is in every Liquor Legends in Queensland, New South Wales, ACT, and Victoria. As usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.